We are a part of the Rhythm Nation. People of the world today, are you looking for a better way on life? We are a part of the Rhythm Nation. Yeah. We are a part of the Rhythm Nation. All right, guys, what is going on? We got a good show for you tonight. We're going to have a little bit of laughs here before I hit the road. I will be traveling this week, so the next live stream will be on Thursday. So just letting you guys know about that. But we will have videos along the way. Anywho, welcome to Sabby's podcast. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. Shout out to everybody watching on YouTube, X, and of course, Rumble. We have a good show tonight, guys. I think we're going to have some laughs. We're going to get out a little bit of our frustration at the same time. Great way going into the weekend. And tonight's theme is Get Ready to Rumble. So let's go ahead and get ready to rumble with some of the comrades here in the chat. Let's go ahead and give some shout outs and then we'll dive right in. Greetings, Desi. Thank God you're on here. YouTube ads were killing me. I am so sorry, Desi. Shout out to Cloudness says, I've got a camouflage spliff ready for Sabby Sabs to bless us with the info about this crazy world we're living in. Salute Sabby and everyone in the chat, B1 fam. Shout out to Blockbuster says hi. Greetings Rich says on May 1st, 2026, nationwide May Day protests. Yes. Economic blackouts. Organized under the theme Workers Over Billionaires are planned across the USA. Yes, that's a big one tomorrow, ladies and gents. Shout out to Veronica Suarez for becoming a Sabby member. Let's give Veronica a big whoop, whoop. Hey, hey, hey. Greetings, Bree says, Sabby, I recommended your channel to my school cohort. We graduate with our MSWs next Saturday. Well, congratulations ahead of time. Also, so curious to hear your take on Candace and Nick Cannon 17-minute clip, JFK, LBJ, and Black America. I haven't seen it. I didn't even know Nick Cannon had a show until a friend of the show, Roger Meadows, told me about it today. But I didn't even know Nick Cannon had a podcast. I don't know, maybe it's new or maybe I just wasn't aware, but I haven't seen it yet, so I have to check it out. Greetings, Measured Man said they have all hands on deck. Shout out to Mumu says, happy Thursday, everyone. Annoying to see Van McCoon Jones continuing his Uncle Ruckus run. Ugh, by the way, have you seen Jennifer Welch's impression of Erika Kirk's rant. I recommend it. I haven't seen that yet either, but people are having a time with it. I can tell you that. Greetings, JVB says, can't wait to hear more about freedom. Shout out to Silver Surfer says, peace, love, Sabby. Greetings to Brett says 63. Shout out to CBC Voter says Sabby Sabs and Eric T. Red. Greetings to my comrade JB says, good evening all. Erika Kirk is channeling her Rhythm Nation 1814 look. Sadly for her, it will never look as good as it did on Janet. You know, when I saw that too, I was like, Rhythm Nation? I don't know if everybody remembers Rhythm Nation, but that was a really big song for Janet Jackson back in the day. And that's what Janet wore, like the black cap and the black, back in the day, Janet Jackson, when she first started, she used to wear black, like all black. And then later on, her look evolved and she started to wear more colorful outfits. But like in the beginning, she was kind of known for that, like wearing like all black and stuff like that. So yeah, if you haven't listened to the Rhythm Nation album, definitely check it out. It's a good one. It's a good one. So tonight's theme is Ready to Rumble. And I think it needs no explanation here, considering everything that's been going on. I want to start out by giving a shout out to people who are patrons. Thank you and welcome to all of you. Shout out to everyone who is a Sabby patron. Thank you guys so much for your support. If you're interested in being a patron, I have 5 categories here. The ultimate, we have the Sabinators. Don't forget about those Sabsters. They're really cool as well. We also have Sabbies. And last but not least, we also have a group called Members. All of their names are listed here, and you can also see their names scrolling across the bottom of the screen throughout the show on that ticker. Thank you guys, and welcome to all of you. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. So much to discuss tonight. Let's go ahead and show you that thumbnail, ladies and gents. And yeah, someone already said it in the chat. It used to be Miss Jackson if you're nasty. That's what Janet said. She said, it's Janet, Miss Jackson if you're nasty. Anywho, all right, ladies and gents, what are we talking about tonight? Big one here. Erika Kirk has decided to respond to all the critics, everyone that has been criticizing her, and certain ones that she does name by name. And she channeled this energy with a Janet Jackson Rhythm Nation look, as you can see there on the thumbnail. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We're going to get into all that. Erika Kirk flips out. And how are people receiving it? Because from what I saw, I don't think this is going in Erika's favor. It seems like it actually worked against her by her doing this speech here. We're also going to discuss, ladies and gentlemen, as it stands right now, it appears that the U.S. and Israel are prepared to strike Iran and restart this war once again, possibly as soon as this weekend. Donald Trump is under a lot of fire right now. We're going to get into all of that and also talk about these oil prices, which he's getting a lot of criticism for. I went to the gas station today, $45. It cost me $45. So people are feeling it. And people are not happy. So we'll get into all of that and the scrutiny that Pete Hegseth is experiencing right now in front of Congress about this war. We're also going to discuss Barack Obama was confronted. And for the first time, I actually saw Obama stumble over his words. He really didn't know how to answer this one. I don't think he was expecting it. But I'm going to show you a little bit of Obama's history before he was president, just to give you some insight so that you understand that Obama is very much aware of what the Middle East is and what has been happening in the Middle East. And I'm going to show you that through some of his history. We're also going to discuss, a lot of people don't know about this one, but shout out to Whitney Webb for bringing this to my attention and others. RFK Jr.'s son is profiting directly from the Trump administration, from his father being a part of it. And I'm going to talk about their connection to Palantir. That's right. Not just Donald Trump's connection to Palantir or JD Vance's, but I'm talking about RFK Jr. and his son's connection to Palantir and why this should concern everyone. We're also going to discuss, if you guys haven't seen this one, Van Jones is at it again. He made a video attacking Hasan Piker, and man, did he get ratioed for this one. He really did. He's out there just, I guess that Jeff Bezos money, he's really working hard for that money. Really out there fighting for Israel, not us here. And definitely he's not fighting for the Palestinian people. And last but not least, we have a bonus story. Marjorie Taylor Greene just revealed something on Tucker Carlson's show about Congress. So this time the discussion is a little bit different, where she's not just talking about, Donald Trump calling her a traitor and all that. She goes into the details of what has been happening in Congress with the money. And I think you guys want to hear about that. So those are the stories for tonight, ladies and gents. Again, the theme is get ready to rumble. So let's get ready to do that. If you haven't done so, do me a solid, ladies and gents, and smash that like button. And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share, just like a Care Bear. Let's keep it moving and grooving and get into this first story. As it stands right now, the U.S. and Israel probably will be striking Iran once again. Could be as soon as this weekend. Donald Trump is saying as early as Monday or Tuesday, but it could happen this weekend. Now, this is all because Iran, the Ayatollah, the new Ayatollah, has issued a statement, and he's made it very clear that things with the Strait of Hormuz will change indefinitely. Just going forward, it is going to change because the U.S. still wants to have a blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. Now, you guys know that Iran is not willing to forego their, uranium enrichment. That is not negotiable for them. And so because of that, Donald Trump got a little bit embarrassed here by announcing that there was going to be more negotiations, talks in person in Islamabad, only for Iran to say, nope, we're not meeting with you. So this is what we're faced with right now. So stay tuned, because they're probably going to have strikes again this weekend or Monday or Tuesday. And that brings up this issue, the oil prices. Trump is on track to cause the biggest oil crisis in decades. And if you've been to the gas station, you've probably noticed it as well. Like I said, I paid $45 today for gas. That's absolutely insane. Brent crude oil has risen to $119, the highest since the 2008 financial crisis. This is where we're at, folks. See how high? This is per barrel, right? And I think it's even higher now. So Donald Trump's in trouble. Prices are increasing for us. This is not good. Like I said, this is one of those times where I really do wish I had an electric vehicle, because it's expensive. It's expensive. And I think you're going to see changes happen here in the US too if this doesn't get resolved, because everybody can't afford to spend $40, $45, $50 to go back and forth to work. And that depends on how long your commute to work is. Now it's even higher. Oil briefly touches $126, its highest price in 4 years. You can feel it. People are feeling it at the pump. And we warned people that this would happen because of this issue with the Strait of Hormuz. So everybody pay close attention to that. So that happened Thursday at $126 a barrel. So it says that some traders worried about an escalation with the U.S.-Iran war that would keep the Strait of Hormuz effectively shut. And this is where we're at now, folks. So I can't believe they actually said this on Fox News, but they're actually admitting on Fox News that this ceasefire during this time where there's been this temporary ceasefire, that Donald Trump could have possibly been sending arms to Iran yet again, to those who want to rise up. They'll pay people to rise up against their own people. We've seen this happen multiple times before. They actually announced that on Fox News, that they believe That's what he could be doing. Listen to this.
I brought this up last hour, Rebecca. The Institute for the Study of War said that Iran's security institutions expressed concern about potential protest calls and assessed that worsening economic conditions such as inflation, unemployment, and rising prices could trigger renewed unrest. I ask again to see if there's any information. What do we know about what's going on inside with the people of Iran?
Well, we know very little, but we remember in the beginning of Epic Fury that the Trump administration officials were very careful to essentially talk to the Iranian people to say that this war is not against you and wait. We don't want you to come out yet and protest, but there will be a time in which we will indicate. President Trump also said earlier on in the war that the United States had attempted to get weapons into some people who might be willing to use them against the regime, and we had to halt that because they were intercepted, didn't get to the Iranian people. But my question is, Dana, are we doing that now? Have we used this ceasefire essentially to do some, CIA operations inside Iran to make sure that the Iranian people are armed, because they are going to be a great asset for the United States. It's going to be up to them to finally push over the regime. But the regime is very fearful, I think, of the Iranian people. And so that's something we got to keep watching.
They actually said that. And if it's no big deal, well, the CIA may be arming people there as we speak. And maybe that's what they used the ceasefire for. And nobody shrugs. Nobody cares. No big deal. Just business as usual. And we said that too. We said that also they could be using that opportunity to rebuild and reload and go back in. Now, I want to show you what Iran is saying here. Iran's parliament speaker mocks Trump for claiming that by today, Iran's oil pipeline was going to magically explode. So listen to what he said here. 3 days in, no well exploded. We could extend to 30 and live stream the well here. That was the kind of junk advice the U.S. admin gets from people like Besant, who also pushed the blockade theory and cranked oil up to 120 plus. Next stop, 140. The issue isn't theory, it's the mindset. I mean, we're being mocked right now. And that's what I said, like Iran prepared for this for a long time. And you'll also see here what the new Ayatollah is saying. And this should be the alarm bell to everybody. A new chapter for the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz is unfolding. What do you guys think that means? He said a new chapter. Things are going to change. Things are going to change. And I got to tell you, this is really a doozy. Really a doozy. Donald Trump really messed up. Like, this is just disastrous. Disastrous. The best thing he can do right now is to say, yeah, we're not going to do this anymore. We should have never struck them in the first place. We're just going to stop all of this. And Iran is not a threat. And we're just going to let them be. But ego is a thing. And Pete Hegseth, along with this, he doesn't want to admit it either. In fact, during this testimony that he had in front of Congress, Pete Hegseth really exposed himself and Donald Trump and basically showed the American people that this war was not going to be winnable and that Israel is the reason for this war. Now, it was not met without protest. There were protesters just waiting to meet him as he arrived.
Why did you order the bombing of the school children? Why did you order the bombing of yourself?
How many American service members have to die for Israel?
How many Iranian schoolgirls have to die?
Why did you? So yeah, people are not happy. People are asking who has to die for Israel. And you guys have to see, here is Pete Hegseth right here admitting that Iran had no nuclear weapon. Listen.
Who's hell-bent on getting a nuclear weapon and get them to a point where they're at the table giving it up in a way that
so they
never have it.
So they haven't broken yet. Okay, we haven't gotten there yet for all of the...
Well, their nuclear facilities have been obliterated. underground. They're buried, and
Whoa,
we're
whoa, whoa,
watching
whoa,
them
whoa, 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 whoa,
24/7.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
So we know where
Whoa, whoa,
any
whoa, whoa,
nuclear
whoa.
material
Reclaiming
might be.
my time for
We're
just a
watching
quick
it.
second here. We had to start this war, you just said, 60 days ago, because the nuclear weapon was an imminent threat. Now you're saying that it was completely
They
obliterated?
had not given up their nuclear ambitions, and they had a conventional shield of thousands
So
of missiles.
Operation Midnight
They're at the
Hammer
weakest
accomplished
moment.
nothing of substance. It
No, you're
left us
missing-
at
you're
exactly
missing
the
the
same
point.
place we were before. So
Their,
much so
their
that we had to
facilities
start
were
a
bombed
war.
and obliterated. Their ambitions continued, and they're building a conventional shield.
All right,
of
let me
missiles.
try again.
It's the North Korea strategy. You know this very well. The North
I
Korea
know.
strategy was use conventional missiles to prevent anybody from challenging them, so they could slow walk their way to a weapon. President Trump saw Iran at its weakest moment, took an action to ensure, in a way that only the United States of America could do with our Israeli partners,
And yet
to
they
ensure their
still haven't given
conventional
up their nuclear.
shield was
All right.
brought
Now,
to
one other
heel, which
question,
we've done.
if I could get to it. So
Not a good look for Pete Hegseth. Again, Tulsi Gabbard admitted this early on before the war even started, that they posed no threat. Here is Pete Hegseth here saying, well, no, they weren't building it, but they had these ambitions. You know, it's very dangerous. And I want you guys to hold on to what they're alluding to here, right? They believe that it's going to happen. And I've heard that my whole life, that it's going to happen, that Iran is going to build a nuclear weapon. And you guys know, of course, that goes against their religion, right? They don't believe in that. At the same time, they do know that they do have to protect themselves. I mean, Israel has been very hell-bent on just getting Iran out of there, or having Iran bend the knee to the Zionist, regime. And when we look at things this way, we have to realize that they could do that to us here in the United States as well. And I mentioned the movie Minority Report before, which if you haven't seen it, you really do need to see it, especially now that Palantir has been ramping up. But the reality is that they can take that same concept and apply it to us. They can say, well, we believe that you are going to do this. You grew up in a bad neighborhood. You have bad grades. We believe that you are going to commit a crime. You're going to end up in prison anyway. So let's go ahead and bring you in. It sounds far-fetched. Some people may say, well, Sabby, that sounds very dystopian or whatever. But honestly, I wouldn't put anything past them at this point in time. So that's what's so incredibly dangerous about what someone believes that you're going to do. Now, Ro Khanna also grilled Pete Hegseth. And with this one, I feel like he really shoved it in his face that even members of his own base are against him because of this. And I think that was the right thing to say. Listen to this.
How much did it cost American taxpayers in terms of the strike to the Iranian school where kids were killed? Do you have that number? In terms of the missiles we used?
As I've said, that unfortunate situation remains under investigation.
You don't know how much it
15-6
costs the
investigation, but I
taxpayer?
wouldn't tie a cost to that, to anything.
It's a reasonable question, no, sir? I mean, our taxpayer money was going there. Do you know how much it will cost Americans in terms of their increased cost in gas and food over the next year because of the Iran war?
I would simply ask you what the cost is of an Iranian nuclear bomb.
I'm going to give you that
I
opportunity.
would simply ask you what the. You're
but,
playing gotcha
sir,
questions
sir,
about
no, it's
domestic
not.
things. I'm not.
You're saying it's a gotcha question to ask what it's going to be in terms of the increased
Why
cost
won't
of
you
gas
answer what
and
it costs
food?
to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear bomb?
I give you that, sir. But let me.
What
if you
would
could
it
just
cost?
ask my
What would you pay to ensure Iran doesn't
But
get a nuclear
can you-
bomb? What would
sir,
you pay?
I reclaim my time. Do you not know? You had no one do the analysis of what the increased cost of gas and food on the American people are going to be?
What is the cost
Let
of
me-
Iran
let me give
holding
you the
that
number.
straight at
Let me
issue
give
with
you the
nuclear
number.
weapons?
It's 600.
So what he's telling you, Pete Hegseth, no, he doesn't know. He wasn't qualified for this position to begin with in the first damn place. And then two, he's telling you that he really doesn't care what the cost is going to be to us. No, he didn't say those words verbatim, but that's what he's saying when he said, well, what is the cost of Iran having a nuclear weapon? He's not worried about how it's going to impact us. Is that America first? No, that's America last. Let's go to this part here, where he's going to tell you how much it costs.
Holding
The
that
number.
straight at
Let me
issue
give
with
you the
nuclear
number.
weapons.
It's $631 billion, which means it's an increase of $5,000 a year for American households. Now, let me give you this point. You're saying that your operation is preventing a nuclear Iran. Will you acknowledge that there is an economic cost to the American people for doing what you believe is necessary to make Iran denuclear? Will you acknowledge the economic cost?
We have an incredible economic team that's managing this better than
Yeah, but
what the previous
but to
administration did for our
acknowledge that-
economy,
to acknowledge
what the
there's a
previous
cost.
administration
You-
did
you
with
don't even
inflation,
know what the- you know
what
what's
the previous
upsetting? I
administration
reclaim my
did with
time. You know,
COVID,
Secretary-
and you're going to
Secretary,
lecture this
I reclaim
administration
my
about
time,
the
sir.
economy?
You know what is upsetting to me?
Incredible.
You didn't even do the analysis on how much it's costing the American people. It's one thing if you said, okay, it costs the American people $5,000, but we think it's worth it. That's what we've done in World War II and other wars. Here's what it costs. You got to pay for it. You don't even know what the average American is paying. You don't know what we paid in terms of the missiles that hit the Iranian school. You don't know what we're paying in terms of gas. You don't know what we're paying in terms of food. Your 25 billion number is totally off. It's the incompetence. It's the incompetence. Okay. Will you acknowledge that there were 970 pounds of uranium enriched after Trump tore up the JCPOA?
The JCPOA was a terrible deal that allowed Iran a path to
I
a
know
nuclear bomb.
You deal with vague platitudes. I'm asking you about numbers. Like you don't know what gas costs, you don't know what food costs, you don't know what the operation costs. You know, I get sound bites, but how about numbers? Do you know how much the enriched uranium was after you ripped up the JCPOA? Trump did.
I'll give you a number. I know that, as was stated by early on, the price of gas is twice as expensive in California, your home state, as anywhere else in the country because of the horrible policies your state pursued.
You know what? It used to be that that type of stuff worked, and then you started to lose the people that you campaigned you wanted to be for, because you said you wouldn't get us into bad wars. You said you would bring down the prices. You know what I'm sad for? I'm sad for all the people who voted for Trump. I'm sad for them because you betrayed them. You betrayed a lot of that MAGA base. And you know who knows that? J.D. Vance knows that.
Oh, we got to drop a beat.
Let's see how you do under pressure. Let's see how you do under pressure. Give them a name to remember. Hey, let's see how you do under pressure. Let's see how you do under pressure. A moment can live on forever.
A moment can live on forever. That was bad. That was really bad. It's just like, whoa, that was smart that Ro Khanna did there. The fact that he pointed to and he said, think about all the people. I feel sorry for the people who supported you because you basically let them down. That was actually smart. Now, there's more. I mean, he's really getting grilled here. This has to be an embarrassment. I want you to hear this one here when he is questioned about the troops. Right? Pete Hegseth just accused U.S. troops of spreading falsehoods against him. So Max Blumenthal shared this. Everyone check this out. Very interesting.
Maximized across the theater.
Let's talk about what defenses they had. Prior to the attack, officers on the ground knew our troops were vulnerable. In fact, they requested additional force protection. Did they receive it?
Wherever humanly possible, force protection and counter UAS was always made available.
They did not. In fact, when asked to describe the base's defense, one survivor who's come forward from the unit said, quote, I mean, I would put it in the none category. From a drone defense capability, none. So let's be clear, no counter drone capabilities, no counter rocket systems, no counter mortar or counter artillery, not even the basic overhead protection that you and I had 20 years ago in Iraq, and now 6 of our soldiers are dead. The next day, you downplayed the attack. You said it was a squirter that squeaked through fortified defenses. But since then, thankfully, brave survivors have come forward to set the record straight. One of our surviving soldiers told CBS, quote, painting a picture that one squeaked through is a falsehood. Another said the unit was, quote, unprepared to provide any defense for itself. It was
Again, these are the soldiers that are speaking out here.
not a fortified position. Another survivor said the building's protection was about as weak as one gets. Secretary Hegseth, that is obviously in direct contradiction to what you said from the Pentagon podium the next day. So are you saying that these soldiers, our soldiers who survived this horrific attack, are lying?
What I'm saying is before the commencement of the conflict, we put in maximum defensive posture we could.
That's a direct
We moved
contradiction to
70
what they said,
in this
Secretary.
directing. Can I speak, or are you just going to monologue falsehoods all over the place?
It's not a falsehood.
We moved 7,500 troops off of
Reclaiming
the
my
X based
time.
on the intel.
Stop.
Based on the intel.
Stop. Reclaiming my time.
Because you yell doesn't make you right.
calling-
Just because you yell doesn't
I'm
make you right.
reclaiming my time on behalf of these survivors. You just said what they said is a falsehood.
There's a much larger
that
picture.
true?
There's a much larger picture at play here that included integrated air defenses, bunkers, moving people off
Then
the
why,
X
Mr.
to
Secretary,
ensure
are
that they
they
were
dead?
not part of the target. We moved those troops and all across the theater, thousands of troops off the X, off of their bases, because we knew what Iran was going to try to strike, and we knew there
So
could
no
be a
answer.
tragic moment.
No
there could be a
answer, Mr.
tragic moment where
Secretary.
something
Again.
could get through. Of
Again.
course, that's the
I'm
consequence of
reclaiming my
conflict,
time.
and we
Again.
remember those 6 every single day.
I wanna
But
finish-
don't play games with.
I'm not playing games.
Raising
I
your
want to
voice
finish
and
with
pointing
one more
fingers.
quote from a survivor of the attack, and I put this on the record. Telling the truth is important, and we're not going to learn from these mistakes if we pretend these mistakes didn't happen. Secretary Hegseth, those soldiers told the truth. Those soldiers are braver than you are.
I commend them.
They are asking for accountability. They deserve accountability, and I'm asking for the same, starting with you. And as I said a year ago, you need to resign immediately.
I commend those
And I
soldiers.
yield back.
He does need to resign. This is one that I called it early on. I knew this guy would be an absolute disaster. He was not qualified for this position, doesn't know what he's doing. But yeah, according to him, the troops are telling falsehoods. So much for supporting the troops, right? So much for supporting the troops. It goes on. There's another one here. And this representative here, this is Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs. She is questioning Pete Hegseth about whether or not Donald Trump is competent enough to be in office. Listen to what he says.
Mr. Secretary, as you know, I represent San Diego, the largest military community in the country. Right now, as we are speaking, 2,500 San Diego Marines are off the coast of Iran. Many, many other San Diegans in uniform have gotten 48-hour deployment notices. So this war in Iran is not theoretical for me or for my constituents. It's deeply personal. As you also know, on Easter Sunday, President Trump threatened to destroy Iran's bridges and power plants, writing, quote, "Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch." And 2 days later, President Trump wrote, quote, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will." My office's phones have been ringing off the hook. I've heard from so many military families concerned about the president's mental fitness and whether he's fit to serve as our commander-in-chief, given that he's sending their loved ones into harm's way. Our troops, who have shown incredible bravery and tactical proficiency, deserve to know that their leaders are focused and stable. So, Mr. Secretary, you are with the president a lot, and it pains me to even have to ask this about our president, but my constituents' lives are at stake. Do you believe that the president is mentally stable enough to be the commander-in-chief?
Uh-oh.
Did you ask the same question of Joe Biden for 4 years?
Mr. Secretary, Joe Biden is not the president. Mr. Trump has been president for a year and a half, and I'm asking you
You did
right
not,
now.
and I won't even engage with the level of disparagement that you're putting on the commander-in-chief, who indeed is. Meeting
Mr.
every
Secretary.
single day.
Guys, he won't answer the question. He won't answer the question.
Mr. Secretary, Biden is not the president.
Sharpest, most insightful commander-in-chief we've had in generations. And you want to compare, you want to ask that question after you and your fellow Democrats defended Joe Biden, who could barely speak and didn't
Mr.
know what day of the
Secretary,
week it
as
was?
you know-
He governed through an auto pen. He
when-
had a Secretary of Defense.
Yeah, Biden was falling off. Biden was incompetent. We called it out multiple times on this show. However, Joe Biden is not president right now. So I told you guys this was only going to be able to last for so long, where they keep saying, but Biden. Yeah, you expect some of that during the first year of a presidential term, but eventually it gets to the point where it's like, you can't just keep going back to Joe Biden. Yes, Democratic Party ran cover for Joe Biden and his mental condition at that point in time. Yeah, but he's not president right now. Now you're starting to see some of these same cognitive issues with Donald Trump.
Feds who went AWOL for a week. I can't
Mr.
be gone
Secretary,
for 10 days.
I will
without
reclaim my
someone
time.
looking-
Thank you so much.
Gentlelady's time. She
Thank
reclaimed it.
So,
astonishing.
as Mr. Jimenez said, we should be taking leaders at their word. So, is there a reason that we should not be taking our leader at his word?
Iran should not underestimate the will of President Trump and the United States military to achieve our mission.
Okay, well, I want you to know this is not.
You guys get the point there, right? Pete Hegseth, maybe not doing as bad as Pam Bondi did, but this is not good. He doesn't even know how much the cost has been to the American people. Just the same old kind of thing. It just, again, it shows incompetency. And that's not what people want to see. I would think most people want to see from someone that's a part of the Trump administration, any presidential administration, especially during a time of war. So I think this is a really mask off moment. And I'll tell you guys right now, again, as it stands right now, it looks like they are going to start these strikes on Iran again. So stay tuned, because it could be tonight, it could be Saturday, it could be it's coming, because Donald Trump and Israel aren't getting their way. And I just don't think this is going to go well. I really don't. I think that this is going to be really bad. This is going to be really bad. But here we are. So coming soon, next couple of days. So get ready to rumble. Let's go to some of the comments here, ladies and gents, and then we'll move on to the next story. Thank you for the super chat, French Laundry. Forgot to tip due dissidents $5 today, so here you go, Sabs. Okay, I will pass that on to Russell and Keaton then. Thank you, Kevin. Erika rocking the 89 Janet Jackson look. Control. Thank you so much for the super sticker, Focus. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dark Angelic. CIA intervention is how we got here in the first place. Yeah. Thank you, Jabram. Low-speed vehicles should not require driver's license. They make it difficult to get low-speed vehicles. So we would have to buy gas guzzlers. Interesting. Thank you for this one. Oh, I think you sent this twice. I don't know if you meant to do that, but thank you. Thank you, JB. Pete is pulling out the culture war greatest hits. Thank you, Max Roy. Three Stooges administration. Thanks, Measured Man. Supposedly there is a food shortage for troops. Yeah. Imagine that, fighting for your country and they don't even want to feed you. And thank you, Dark Angelic. Just waiting for a keg's breath to mention the stock Martin. Keg's breath. That's a good one. Oh boy. You guys come up with all kind of names. Okay, ladies and gents, let's move on to the next story. Again, tonight's theme is Get Ready to Rumble. And this is the bonus story of tonight. So let's go ahead and dive right in. I saw this earlier this morning. This recent interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene on Tucker Carlson's show touches on a different topic. This time she's not, talking about Donald Trump calling her a traitor, etc. She's revealing some of the things that happened in Congress, including the money. And she boldly says it. And this is what I've said this before. This is what we really wanted members of the squad to do, what Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing here, to boldly say, this is why things aren't working for the American people, because your representatives are corrupt. This is how it works in Congress. This is what they have been doing. That's what they were supposed to do. And so I guess they figured they would risk losing their seats if they did that. She was willing to risk her seat and do that. So I want you to hear what she's saying here about what has been happening. One of the most damning things that just happened recently is that the House did pass this FISA legislation, which basically gives the government unchecked authority to spy on us and to surveil us. I warned you guys about that legislation a couple weeks ago, that was coming down the pipeline and that the Black Congressional Caucus had agreed to it. So it's not good times, but I want you to hear what she says here about why things are not working out.
Lawler is and Don Bacon is another name you mentioned a minute ago, but is kind of a metaphor for the corruption in the system, it would seem to me. So Mike Lawler obviously is way out there on pointless wars, neocon politics, loyalty to Israel, almost to a cartoonish point.
Yeah.
But he's also leading the charge on every other anti-human initiative that comes out of the United States Congress. Anything that's bad for the public, he's for. Anything that might help the public, he ignores. Like, what is that? What is his motive? Do you understand?
I'll go back to when he was a candidate for Congress. I was already serving in the House. And in our conference meetings, in our GOP conference meetings, the ones that we have at the Capitol Hill, we have two different type of conference meetings. Each week, there's one meeting a week. And it's kind of sad that your Republican representatives only meet one time a week. But once a week, and one is either political, and that one happens inside the Capitol. And then there's another kind that's completely and totally campaign and fundraising related. That one happens off campus at the Capitol Hill Club. And they bring in candidates. They'll bring in, any new candidate running for Congress that, of course, is only approved by the NRCC and approved by the traditional establishment Republican Party in Washington. So they will bring in these candidates into this GOP meeting. They'll have them stand up, raise their hand, introduce themselves. The speaker or the leader, whoever is talking, will praise them and explain to everyone in the room why they've got to write them a max check immediately and help get them elected because they're fighting to become part of the team. So I remember specifically when Mike Lawler came in, and he was welcomed in by everybody. I mean, he was propped up as the guy we have to fight for, one of the most critical races as an incoming Republican candidate, because it was a very close district. And it was so important. We were told it was so important to win this district. Well, I learned a lot about him very quickly. He, as a Catholic, Mike Lawler is a Catholic, was heavily supported and funded by the Jewish community there, and was heavily being supported by all the Christian Zionists. And he instantly had more support from pretty much every fundraising mechanism that there is in Washington, D.C. that supports Republicans. He had more help than I could have ever dreamed of having.
That's the kicker right there. He had more help than she could have ever dreamed of having. And this is something I have noticed about certain candidates. It's very fishy to me, some of these candidates that are backed by so many different groups, and they have ads galore. A good example of this is Shontel Brown. Remember Shontel Brown ran against Nina Turner in that special election? People in Ohio told me that they saw her ads everywhere, even on Hulu, etc. And she had so much backing and da-da-da. Always pay attention to that. Pay attention to the candidates that seem to be backed by everyone and they have all this money, because most of the time, the candidate that has the most money is the one who usually wins. Now, if it's grassroots funded, that's a different story. But I'm talking about these candidates that have all this money coming from these corporations, the military industrial complex. You have to be very careful and pay attention to that. So that's the kicker. If those organizations were willing to line up behind Mike Lawler and put all this money behind him, that right there tells you who he's going to serve. He's going to serve their interests.
Ever in my entire political career. And I was like, wow, what is going on with this guy? And it turns out he did win his race. It was a narrow victory, but he did win it. And of course, he instantly came into the House of Representatives completely bought and paid for by all of the establishment donor class that had supported him. He hated Donald Trump, made fun of him constantly, mimicked him, making fun of his voice. He used to attack me, make fun of me, come and find me on the House floor and make fun of me for supporting Donald Trump. And this was in the 4 years before Trump got elected as president again in 2024. And I was just like, this guy's like literally one of the worst. Well, I would say he's the worst, but Randy Fine is really the worst. But Mike Lawler was unbelievably, I thought he was a Democrat. I was like, he's literally a Democrat. He's so against all the things that Republican voters care about. And he clearly hates Donald Trump.
But he ran as a Republican because that's probably how his district was. And I've noticed this about some people too. Like some of these candidates in the past, like they have been Democrats or they've been Republicans, but they want to get into Congress and the district that they live in is blue or their district is red. So they'll choose to run with the party that their district really represents, even though they may not really be a Democrat or a Republican. Yeah, a lot of times, people, we talk about Randy Fine, but Mike Lawler, he's just as corrupt.
Well, I saw this unbelievable change in him. And of course, it happened after Trump won his primary in 2024. All of a sudden, Mike Lawler, I started joking. I started calling him MAGA Mike Lawler because he was all of a sudden like becoming Trump's biggest supporter. And he was all excited. He got a MAGA hat signed by Donald Trump, came straight up to me to show it to me. And I'll never forget the day that he had gone and met with the president at the White House. Of course, I was not invited. Only all the Republicans that hated the president before. Let me tell you, Tucker, it all changed. When Trump went in the White House, literally in a matter of months, those of us that fought for him when no one else would, who were basically like the inner circle, we all of a sudden got kicked out. And it was the Republicans like Mike Lawler and all these other guys that were the ones being constantly ushered into the White House for meetings and all kinds of things. So he came back on the House floor one day and he had one of Trump's gigantic challenge coins that's like big and gold and obnoxious and heavy. And he came up and he was like, I've got one of these, Marjorie. Do you have one of these? And he was all bragging about it. But you know what that told me, Tucker, is what I really reflecting on it now that I didn't really realize at that time was that the president not only was Mike Lawler fully bought and paid for by this and Don Bacon and all these other guys, fully bought and paid for by the political industrial complex that maintains the power structure in Washington that is completely America last. But the fact that they were the ones now first on the list to go to the White House and the ones being courted all the time, that meant that's when the president also became bought and paid for by the exact same group of people, powerful people, powerful donor class, and the powerful industries.
So I want to bring up other people who were a part of this too. And that goes back to Trump's first term. Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz were 100% against Donald Trump in 2016. In fact, Lindsey Graham went on record at public interviews saying that, oh God, that guy's a disaster. No, he can't be president. God, we don't want him. Oh, I despise him. The moment that Donald Trump won, they all got in line. Lindsey Graham, one of the most notorious flip-floppers of all time. They all got in line, all of them, and just said, I'm going to do whatever Donald Trump wants. But the key there is what she said about the donors, right? The fact that the people who were supporting him from the beginning were not invited to those conversations, but the people who got on board with him at the end, when it was more convenient to do so, were invited. And that means they're all represented and funded by the same people. And that's the part that you really got to take home from that. We're going to go to the next part here, where they dive in just a little bit deeper. Like I said, this is the stuff that happened in Congress. And she also gets into this part about who can actually become president. Listen to this.
I'll be really clear. This is something that is my own conclusion. To become president of the United States, there's deals that have to be made. Otherwise, you aren't allowed to have that power. And you can go president by president throughout time, and especially throughout our lifetimes. And you can look at every single president and look at their career and the decisions that they made. And you can very quickly see that they made their deal to support Israel at all times. Why does the United States of America do that for one foreign country?
Pause. What do all these presidents have in common? Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Bush Sr. All of them supported and funded Israel. So what she's telling you is that in order to even become, this is very important, guys, because when we talk about voting and how things work, she is saying that in order to become president of the United States, you have to have this agreement to support Israel. And who makes that decision? And that's where we get back to the big money interest. This is the part I think some people don't like to hear. You can fight different ways, and you can do so different ways politically, right? But at the end of the day, when these parties are both owned by big money interests, it includes big pharma. We're talking about, tech, the tech industry. We're talking about Palantir, like companies like them. And of course, we're talking about the pro-Israel lobby, which AIPAC just made an ad recently bragging about the fact that they are the largest donor for all the minority groups in Congress. AIPAC is. So Israel comes before all of us. There is no America first. And I've heard also some of the members of Congress that are no longer part of Congress have also said the moment they were sworn in, they had to make like this agreement that they were going to support Israel. So the big money interest has to change. We have to get big money out of electoral politics. This is the part a lot of people don't explain to their viewers. That you can, I know some people want to fight inside the Democratic Party. Some people want to fight inside the Republican Party. But at the end of the day, you got to get the money out. That's why things aren't being done for us. We need free public elections. None of these politicians should be bought and paid for. None of them. And a lot of them, they just go in there and they stay long enough so that they can get a pension. They can have their book tours and, they can trade stocks, do their insider trading, even though they're not supposed to. And they make money for themselves and they enrich themselves, all while campaigning on a promise that they made to all of you that they were going to fight for you. It becomes about what they're going to do for themselves.
Makes absolutely no sense. We don't do that for any other foreign country. No other government on earth does. Every single United States president, the vast majority of members of Congress completely pledge their allegiance. Governors too. We have to include governors and state elected officials. They pledge their complete allegiance to the government of Israel and their purpose and their protection and whatever endeavor they decide to pursue, whether it's right or wrong, whether it helps America or even if it hurts America, they still pledge their full allegiance. They make that deal. And Tucker, I don't care what anybody thinks about me, but I believe that Trump had to make a deal like this in order to become president. And that's why people see the drastic change in him. Now,
I'm wondering something, and, listen again to what she said about making this deal with Israel. If we go back to 2020, let's go back to 2016. We go back to 2016. Remember, Donald Trump was the one that moved the embassy. Does everybody remember this? He moved the embassy in Israel. So that was the start. That was the start of all this. And it makes you wonder, if he would have won in 2020, would Donald Trump have gone to war with Iran in 2020? I don't know. We don't know. We don't know. But we're here now. It makes you wonder what was all planned down the line. It makes you wonder what if these things may have been planned a long time ago. Don't know. But like I said, moving the embassy was the first step. The U.S. government and a lot of these politicians that are in cahoots with the Zionists and the pro-Israel lobby, are really trying to make a pathway to build that third temple.
Now, he was beholden to a lot of the establishment Washington Industries and their donors in his first administration. That happened. And we can look at COVID and the response, shutting down the entire country to slow the spread of a virus was absolutely serving that gigantic machine. It wasn't for the American people. That did not help Americans. It did not help American small business owners. It hurt us. It hurt children's education. I mean, that's a whole nother subject. But he did that. Trump did that in his first term. However, this term, we've watched him drastically change literally from the first quarter of his presidency to being completely basically held captive in servitude to whatever Bibi Netanyahu demands of him.
Huey says here the plan was exposed in 2013 that Trump would start this war in 2025, 2026. Interesting.
That's fighting wars. That's creating policy that benefits Israel. And that is even to the point of defeating a House Republican that votes with him over 90% of the time, defeating Thomas Massie because those giant billionaire Israel donors say it has to happen. And I don't know how and why. And I don't know how you change that. And I don't know how this came to be, but I think it happened over decades. And it's a much bigger problem than people realize. It's not anti-Semitic for us to talk about it. It doesn't mean that we're against Jewish people, not at all. We love all people. We're Christians. We're commanded to love all people. But our government, the United States of America, should be serving the American people and the American people's interest first and foremost at all times, 100%, and should not be easily dragged off into bombing Iran or paying to fund all types of military equipment and weapons to perform genocide on Gaza or Christians in Lebanon and villages in Lebanon and taking their land. The hypocrisy of it is beyond, it's unspeakable. The King of England, King Charles, spoke to Congress this week and literally demanded that the United States of America go to war with Russia because Russia invaded Ukraine.
I told you guys what I tell you. That's what he was saying yesterday. Like, this is all they want us to do. They just want us just to go to war and just fight and bomb and more money for the military industrial complex when they do that. Like, and let me pause here for a second. You know what? King Charles really pissed me off with this also, because we're talking about the UK where people have universal health care. And he came to the US. Apparently, they haven't been here in a long time. He came here to the US to tell our Congress that we need to go to war with Russia to help out Ukraine. Obviously, we would not win that war. I'm telling you guys right now. But again, the goal isn't necessarily to win. The goal is to funnel money, launder money back into the military industrial complex. That's all this is. And also, I think depopulation is a little bit a part of this too. They know that people are going to die. I think they want some people to die. Sorry, it just is what it is. I've been reading about that for quite some time, and I think they want some people to go. Now, they'll probably never say that, but they're not going to reveal all their tricks, right? But yeah, that's what he was asking us to do. And we have a lot of problems right here in this country that we need to fix. Now, he goes on to ask her, like, why are people falling for this and believing this? And she brings up the Christian evangelicals, and you guys need to hear this.
Down on television about we have to give money to Israel. When Levin is demanding that we use nuclear bombs on Iran, many of these same House Republicans would support that. I don't know what that is, Tucker, and I don't know why it's that way. I think there's been a brainwashing that's happened in this country, and it's happened a lot through evangelical churches. It's happened a lot through just lot of churches, honestly. And the message has been told to the American people over and over and over and over again that we have to support Israel at all costs, at all times, no matter what. And there's, tragic events that have helped shape many Americans' views to support that, such as 9/11 and such as other horrific terrorist incidences here in America, but also what we've been fed on the television of suicide bombers in Israel and so forth. They don't ever show the other side of what happened, but they show that nonstop. Now, so that has hardened many Americans to believe that America has to support Israel at all costs, no matter what. They use the verse in Genesis, use that against Americans, Christian or not, to believe that if you don't bless Israel, then you're going to be cursed by God. And that's absolutely not true. And you've talked about that a lot, thankfully, as well as others did. But it has been basically propaganda and messaging that has been told to Americans for so long. And the baby boomers, who we love, that's our parents' generation. And not all of them. There's some really good baby boomers, but the baby boomer generation as a whole are the ones that have embraced it the most on Republican and the Democrat side. Both sides fully supporting Israel. Give them all your money. The best way we can help our grandchildren's future. They may be broke and can't have a job and can't afford health insurance and can't afford to do anything in life. And AI will totally replace their future jobs. But you know what? We got to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon. And it's been that propaganda that has not only basically wrangled in these members of Congress and other elected officials that are fully supported by that lobby and the massive donor list that comes with it. It's huge. You have no idea how big it is. Jews and Christians. It's the AIPAC umbrella, but it's much bigger than AIPAC itself. Lots of donors that, hey, will write you a check and say, you just make sure that you take care of Israel. And so they are wrapped in and beholden by that money. And it's supported by Americans who have been brainwashed to believe that that's exactly what America has to do. But nobody ever talks about, Tucker, nobody ever talks about the fact that Israel has nuclear weapons. Israel has hundreds of nuclear weapons. Like, who's really going to mess with Israel at the end of the day? They have nuclear weapons. It's just like, do you ever see anybody freaking out about Kim Jong-un anymore in North Korea?
No.
Because he has nuclear weapons. So what a lie it is that we really have to support Israel.
Let me say something here about the evangelicals. When I was a kid, televangelists was like a really big thing. They're still around now, but I feel like they're not as popular as they were before. And there was this show called the 700 Club. I'm not sure if that's still a thing, but I've lived in the Bible Belt, right? And we call the South, like something we call us Bible Belt because there's churches everywhere, right? I've lived in the Bible Belt, and I remember, and I ain't gonna say no names on here, but I remember my friends' parents, including my mom. My mom used to do this too. They used to watch these televangelists, and it was one of those things. It's like, if you didn't want to go to church, you didn't have to leave your home. You could just sit right there and just hear the word of God from these televangelists. One of the things, like looking back on it, they were always really big on the Israel thing. And we're talking about people who back then they were reaching millions of people just through the television with that message. And it's 700 Club is still on print. Okay. Yeah. So they're still around. So yes, Pat Robertson and John Hagee. Yes. They have been a big part of this as well. And I think she's right when she says that some people are just brainwashed. If you've been told your whole life that you have to support Israel or you're going to be cursed or doomed or whatever, the more and more you hear it, it gets drilled into your brain, and then you start to believe it. And so when someone else comes to you and they say, no, that's not true, You're like, oh, I mean, there's been times I told you guys I went to Pentecostal church before. There's been times that they told us that those people, that they called them naysayers, they said that those people were evil and that you weren't to associate with them. Then it gets to the point where it's like you're only supposed to associate with people who are the same denomination as you and, same mission as you and all these types of things. And what it does is it makes you more and more isolated, and you have less people around you that may think differently. And that's on purpose. The last thing people like John Hagee and Pat Robertson and them want is for you to hear the other side. And so they have to make you afraid to even listen to the other side or hear what they have to say. And they do that by telling you things like you're going to be cursed. And it's wild to me. It's wild that people have been able to have that type of control over the masses. But it happens and it works. And you have to start asking yourself, like, how many people have been brainwashed? Then the other question is this. In the United States, we have separation of church and state. So why are they even using that as an excuse anyway? Now, that's something people really need to start asking. But people believe it and people fall for it. And I'm trying to tell you guys, they really want to make that third temple happen. It's not just about Israel, expanding and the greater Israel project. That's part of it. But the other part of it is the third temple. And I believe that they have people in Congress and in the White House right now that will try to do everything that they can to make that happen. So we have some crazy things like going on, you guys. But Marjorie Taylor Greene has been spilling quite a bit about what took place also in Congress, not just about Donald Trump, but how these politicians are so controlled. And, at this point, I would challenge Donald Trump. He's not going to do it. I would challenge him to have a discussion with Marjorie Taylor Greene, a public discussion, maybe a debate, but he wouldn't do it because that's not going to make him look good. That would actually make him look bad. Very few people, and I have disagreements with Marjorie Taylor Greene on policy, but very few people that have been in Congress are willing to tell you the things that she's telling you. Very few. Let's go to some of the comments here. Eric, we can go to the next part for Tight VNC. All right. Thank you for the super chat, Marlon. He is lying, and his defense is calling the troops he put in harm's way liars. Yeah, buddy. Thank you, AR. Don't forget that the CBC also came out to campaign against Nina Turner when she ran. Yep, they did. Yeah, the Zionists told him to do that one. Thank you, Dr. I always want to say Dr. Dre. I don't know why I always want to call you Dr. Dre. Thank you, Dre, Sabby for president. That would be funny. Thank you, Kevin. MTG forgets Donald J. Trump first term jumped right into meddling in Latin America. Venezuela, a huge letdown for those who hoped he'd keep one of his promises. That's a good point. Shout out to Mont 3000, who's been a member for 3 months. How we still hasn't do many homeless. How we still haven't have too many homeless, maybe you mean? Thank you, newbie. I said since 2021, if they ever let Trump anywhere near the White House, it's only because he's been bought and paid for. There you go. Thank you, Mont. Israel been made other money funneling groups other than AIPAC. Yeah, remember what she said about that umbrella, that big AIPAC umbrella? And thank you, Shockwave. TBN, Trinity Broadcasting Network. There you go. Let's keep up the rumble, shall we? Let's keep up the rumble. If you haven't had a chance to do so, smash that like button. And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share like a Care Bear. Let's keep it going, guys. Oh, we're really going to get ready to rumble now. Okay. I don't know who advised Erika Kirk to have this speech on the Charlie Kirk show. I don't know who told her to wear the wardrobe. Maybe it was her decision. I don't know who told her that this would be a good idea. But Erika Kirk sat down on the Charlie Kirk show, and I think this might have been pre-recorded. I don't know. And she basically had something to say to all the people who were criticizing her, and she named some names, and she appeared to be pretty upset and pissed off about all of this. The crazier part is, though, Erika Kirk showed up wearing a black hat, black shirt, almost in a sense, dressed like Janet Jackson from Rhythm Nation. Sam Parker says Erika really complained about comedians in whiteface while ripping off Janet Jackson. Who wore it better? Janet, of course. But it's like the outfit to me, Rhythm Nation vibes. We are a part of the Rhythm Nation. Like, I don't know the message that she was trying to send here. I don't really know. But let's hear what Erika has to say. Oh my God. And I think she thought that she was going to get a lot of sympathy from this, but it did not work out that way. Not at all. In fact, it went the other direction. Let's dive in.
It seems to me that nothing will ever be enough for the evil in this world. Our country has become unrecognizable. These people have perverted the truth to the point that they motivated the murder of my husband. They have continuously tried to assassinate the president, and anyone who stands in their way is labeled hateful, racist, fascist, and every other trigger word that is grossly dishonest.
She's talking about the left. She's trying to blame it on the left.
We want the best for our country. They don't. This is why Charlie started Turning Point USA in the first place. He didn't trust the radicalized liberal teachers. And this past Saturday, it was a school teacher, of all people, a school teacher that attempted to change our history for the worst with bullets.
Look at the eyes, guys. Look at the eyes. What is happening? It's like she's channeling something. So let me just chime in here for just a second, okay? You know what I noticed? Erika seems to want to blame a lot of this stuff on the left. I still don't believe that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, but I believe this is what Erika is paid to do, to convince you that the problem is the left. When we've had violence committed by both sides, but Erika only calls out one side. You know what I noticed? You know who Erika doesn't call out? Erika doesn't call out corruption. Erika doesn't call out big money interests. Erika doesn't call out billionaires. Erika doesn't call out Donald Trump with many of the, violent statements that he has made. Erika does not challenge power. And oftentimes people who don't challenge power or don't call out power, they are basically there to put the blame on someone else so that you're not paying attention to the fact that it's actually the people in power, these power structures, that are causing a lot of the problems. She has to convince you it's the left, or it's your neighbor, it's your friend, it's somebody else. Somebody else. The guy who was just arrested for the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner has not been found guilty. You see a pattern? Tyler Robinson has not been found guilty. But Erika is already telling you that they are. Another thing, Erika Kirk wants you to believe that it's only leftists that are criticizing her. That is wrong. There are people on the right that are criticizing Erika Kirk. including people that actually either were a part of Turning Point USA or appreciated Turning Point USA at some point in time. She's pretending as though the only criticism that she is receiving is on the left, and that is not the case. Erika Kirk is being attacked by those on the right as well. This is not worked out in her favor. I believe that this woman thought that after Charlie Kirk died and she was going to take over the CEO mantle, that this was going to be smooth sailing for her. I think she expected to get a lot of support, especially from those that supported Turning Point USA. She expected people to basically welcome her and be happy for her and give her a lot of support. But that did not happen. The exact opposite happened because Erika Kirk has not been genuine and people can see through the bullshit. So she has herself in a pickle. They are having problems with ticket sales from what I've seen. JD Vance already pulled out of one of the other Turning Point USA events that he was supposed to speak at with Erika Kirk because they're having ticket sale issues. People aren't buying, fam. So now she just wants everybody to focus on the left so that you're not focusing on her.
And everyone is asking why I even went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And it was because many of the journalists in that room have attempted to dehumanize me. And I wanted to meet some of them face to face, quite frankly.
So Erika is letting you know that she went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner to serve her own interests. Did I make myself clear? She went there to serve her own interests. She didn't go there because, the president is being honored. She didn't go there for that. She went there for herself. Typical.
Why have a conversation about me when you can have a conversation with me? So, for example, a journalist from the Daily Mail came up to me. She introduced herself and she was very gracious. She was saying, "You look so beautiful. I'm so sorry for your loss." To which I replied, "It is so nice to put a name to the face, especially with all of the slander, the lies, accusations that are out there surrounding my husband's murder and myself." And I said to her, "You know what's so interesting? This is my first time at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and I find it so fascinating, the dynamic that is going on right now, because everyone is all dressed up, and you guys are co-mingling in and out of each other's cocktail parties. And so for one night, you are able to put aside all of your differences for the sake of freedom of speech. And then by Monday morning, things will go back to being an absolute bloodbath between all of you." To which she replied, literally, she said, "I know. Isn't it special, right? Isn't tonight so special?" And following that conversation, it was time to take our seats, and we went into the big ballroom where the dinner was. And one of the first things I noticed when I walked into that room was quite literally the proximity of the opposing outlets to one another. So you have one table here that's Politico, and another table here that's Fox, and another table here that's WAPO, and you're all crammed together, elbow to elbow. And to make the night even more of a spectacle, every single 10-person table had 10 bottles of wine. And the president of the White House Correspondents Association, she did a great job of trying to make the evening have that feeling of Americana. We were in a room celebrating freedom of speech despite our differences. And the U.S. Marine Band performed the national anthem so beautifully. And then shortly thereafter, gunshots rang out and total chaos ensued. And you guys have all seen what happened next because there are 1,000 videos of it. So let's discuss that fact for a second. If you were in that room, you had no way of knowing what the status of the shooter was, how many there were, or honestly, really anything. It was just utter chaos. And so during an active shooting, these journalists are using their phones to find moments to capture for clips.
That's interesting that you're mentioning that, Erika, because one of the things that many of us pointed out was we found it kind of strange that they wanted to continue the dinner when they also didn't know if there was more shooters in the building. And you just happened to be there. And I said it when I saw the video footage of Erika walking down and the fake crying because I ain't see no tears. When I saw that, I said to myself, watch, she's going to try to make this about her. She just happened to be there.
They were so concerned about getting a video in a room with an active shooter that they could have accidentally and quite literally filmed themselves being shot. Many of those people have become so desensitized that fight or flight became secondary to the opportunity of putting themselves into the story, which ironically breaks the #1 rule of journalism. And again, ironically enough, the shooter was a teacher. You have the
Actually, there are journalists that are war journalists and they go and they cover war during war. They are putting themselves in that position during that time. So actually, journalists do that.
These people who are supposed to be teaching our children the future of this country, and he's so unhinged that he is able to teach children by day and then attempt to murder the president of the United States by night.
Notice that she's focusing on the fact that he was a teacher and not the fact that he was an engineer. See, this is on purpose. And this is what I was saying, right? Like that guy was an engineer. Yes, he was a teacher. He was a part-time teacher, but he was a mechanical engineer. And I still think that guy's a patsy too. I don't believe a lot of this shit that I see nowadays. But she's talking about the safety of children because he was a teacher and he drove there to do this violent act. But how many times has Erika talked about the safety of the children with the Epstein files, which Donald Trump is in numerous times? How many times has Erika Kirk talked about that? Why hasn't Erika Kirk spent more time focusing on a lot of these people who are in the Epstein files that are a part of Donald Trump's administration, like Howard Lutnick? Why isn't she calling them out for the children? Again, her job is to convince you that the problem is the left.
And in his manifesto, he starts by contextualizing himself by saying, I am a citizen of the United States of America. And while we may have big problems with illegal immigration in this country, I have to tell you, we have an even bigger problem when it comes to the systemic indoctrination and radicalization of our own citizens.
There it is. Ding, ding, ding. Radicalization, systemic indoctrination. These are the words that they use time and time again, and they are making a push for more censorship. They all use the same words: radicalization, unhinged, indoctrination. I don't know. I mean, we're talking about radicalization. I think it's pretty radical and wild as hell that you have people who are serving in a presidential administration that are in the Epstein files, that have lied about it in front of Congress and still have their job. No accountability. I don't know. I think it's kind of radical and wild that none of these people have been held accountable. But Erika doesn't talk about that because it also implicates her side. I don't know who wrote this for her. You think someone wrote this for her, or you think she wrote it herself?
This is what got my husband killed. This is what has led to 3 legitimate attempts on President Trump's life.
No, we all believe it was Israel. We all believe it was him saying, no, we can't go to war with Iran. We all believe it was him saying he had issue with the Zionist donors. We all believe that it was because he took that pivot when it came to Israel. That's why he was killed. But see, she still wants you to believe that it was just Tyler Robinson, this crazy radical leftist person. And that story is all over that story is a mess, a complete mess. But that's what Erika wants you to believe. And it's not working.
And I can speak firsthand to that unbearable toll that this must take on our First Lady. There has never been a president who has faced this many assassination attempts in Americans' entire history. And after each one, the reaction from the far left has been, at best, a shrug, and in some cases, a sick disappointment that the shooter was unsuccessful. We are all human beings. And if you can just pause and just take a minute and ask yourself, how would you feel if even just one person made cruel jokes about the attempted murder of your loved one? That is what Jimmy Kimmel did to the First Lady. He said that she had the glow of an expected widow.
What about the jokes that Donald Trump has made about people, and also the comments that are not actually jokes? And we talked about that on the show recently. I want to mention this to you guys as well. First of all, comedians are going to comede. Like, comedians make fun of everybody. Every president in my lifetime has been mocked by comedians. SNL makes fun of all of them. All of them. They made fun of Biden too. So I'm not walking down this road where we're going to say, okay, well, we're going to have to put limitations on what people can say, especially when it comes to comedy. Now, we're supposed to have free speech in this country, but you keep seeing them try to move in certain ways to take that away from us as well. I'm not here to say these comedians can't do this and can't do this comedy act. If you don't like it, don't watch it. That's just how I feel about it. But this is where we're at now, where they want to push this type of censorship. I would not be surprised. And I sit back and I think about this. I would not be surprised if later on they make these types of statements that, like, you can't make fun of the president. Can't do it. Donald Trump makes fun of everybody. Donald Trump even makes fun of people in his own party. This is the same president that is bragging about blowing up infrastructure in Iran. Like, just like a typical gangster. But she won't call it out because that's on her side. That's not Christian-like. I don't believe Erika no Christian. I do not believe Erika Kirk is a Christian. I think Erika Kirk is an actress that didn't get any movie roles, and so she did this stunt.
The glow of an expected widow. Just 48 hours before that nightmare almost became a reality. In this culture we're living in, absorbs disagreement as a form of personal betrayal. It turns having an opposing viewpoint into a moral crime worthy of punishment. And here's what I've realized through all of this, truly, having lived through quite literal hell these past 7 months, if you strip someone of their humanity long enough, you will arrive at the chilling conclusion that they don't deserve to exist at all. Every morning I wake up to a new headline lying about me. I have comedians dressing up in whiteface.
First of all, whiteface is not a thing. Okay, get some education, Erika. You went to all these schools. You have all these degrees. Whiteface is not a thing. That Drewski shit was funny as hell. 2, she says that every day that she wakes up, there's headlines about her. That's because you don't stay your ass in the house. If Erika Kirk would have tended to her children, stayed out of the spotlight, as most grieving people do at that point in time, there wouldn't be all these headlines about her. There's headlines about you because after Charlie Kirk was killed, you went on about publicly living your best life. Erika flying on planes, trains, automobiles, going to football games and everything. Again, that was very kind of, I mean, really? And yes, I know she became the CEO of Turning Point USA, and there's things you got to do as that. Erika didn't have to go to all these things that she went to. Erika wanted to be seen, and people can tell that. They can tell. It looks like she got over that pretty quickly, and she wanted to be seen. So there you go. You know, if she stayed in the house, people would not have these headlines about her all the time. But Erika wants to be seen.
I have people saying I'm not fit to be CEO, and I have Candace Owens claiming I murdered my husband. And the list goes on and on and on.
Did Candace actually say that Erika Kirk murdered her husband? Because I don't remember her saying that. And just look at her eyes. Like, what is this? And you notice she's wearing the hat. Let me tell you something about hats too, right? So I don't know if she's trying to give a tough image here with the black hat and the black shirt, the Rhythm Nation, outfit. I don't know. But to me, it's almost as if she might be trying to hide something. Sometimes a hat can give you comfort because you at least, they just see you from here, I don't know. It's like a little hug, but for your head. And I'm just not buying it. And I'm looking back on things and I'm like, well, maybe Erika should have auditioned for like All My Children, or As the World Turns, or The Young and the Restless. She probably would have been really great as a soap opera actress. Actually, now thinking about it, she's got the eyes down, the crazy eyes. Maybe. But this was hilarious. When I saw this, I was like, I can't believe she did this.
There is a serious epidemic of dehumanization plaguing this country. The most unthinkable tragedies have now become commonplace in our daily headlines, and yet the media finds a way to conveniently explain away violence. This is what we're up against. This is what we're up against. What is happening right now is something none of us can afford to ignore. The evil forces working to divide us, to distract us, and to pull us apart has never been stronger. This is a moment for Americans to come together and decide what kind of country we are going to be before we lose our country altogether. In Romans chapter 12, verse 21, it says, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good."
Oh, there's the Bible verse. Had to drop that one in.
And this is why my husband created Turning Point USA, so we could have civil discourse and debate and open dialogue, because when we stop talking to each other, bad things happen. I am choosing to fight for America, for my children, for your children, and for our humanity, because we all need to do our part. And by the grace of God, we will succeed, and America will remain what she was always called to be, a shining city on a hill, a light to the world. So let me give you a perfect example of how it's done. My husband did it best and left us the blueprint on how to have uncomfortable conversations with those who disagree. Buckle up, everybody. Here we go.
So now she's using, it's like,
Parties.
Let me pause it here for a second and say something. So, like sand through the hourglass, these are the days of our lives. Erika is being talked about because Erika won't go away. Erika can't go 1 week without making some type of appearance somewhere, someplace. It's just really weird. And it's not like it was 6 months later. It was pretty quick. Erika also lied about some things. Let's keep it real. All the things that have come out about her, she told some lies. And I think she's upset because this information got out. It got out that she's playing a role. And I think that's what a lot of this is about. Who cares? If someone said that she's not fit to be CEO, why does she care? Why does she care? Why is Erika acting as though she's the only working person that has been in a position and other people felt they shouldn't have been in that position? Why do you care? So what? So what? That is part of the role. Being a CEO, you have to take the punches. That's part of the job. Everybody ain't meant for management. Now, the funny part about all this, and I thought this pretty funny, people are really cracking up on this one, guys. Oh my God. People of the world today, from Rhythm Nation, people of the world today, are you looking for gaslighting and lies, saying we are a part of the crumbling nation? People are going all in, fam. People got Erika's face on the Rhythm Nation outfit. Again, she did this to herself. And then this is Ashley St. Clair, who is I think that she was Elon Musk's baby mama or something. Listen to what she said here.
I have comedians dressing up in whiteface. I have people saying I'm not fit to be CEO. And I have Candace Owens claiming I murdered my husband.
One of these things is not like the others. Who is advising Erika Kirk? Who is advising her? Because this woman just now responded to the Drewski skit, and she puts it on par with being accused of murdering her husband, and says that a comedian was putting her in whiteface, which that's not fucking real. Just from an optics standpoint, if you don't want to be accused of killing someone, maybe don't dress like an assassin. The Drewski skit was objectively funny. Okay, and if that had happened to Charlie, if Drewski would have made a skit about Charlie would have milked that for weeks. Okay, he would have made like 18 podcast episodes about it. He would have made the Drewski rendition of himself his damn profile picture, because that is what he did when South Park made fun of him. In fact, Charlie literally died with Eric Cartman as Charlie Kirk as his profile picture, okay? And like, girl, why are you still mad at the comedian? Didn't you forgive your husband's... What are we doing? Who is advising this woman? Fire everyone. Erika, fire everyone. Whoever is around you, you got to switch it up, girl. We all.
Yeah. So you guys get the point here, right? Like I said, it's who she chooses to take her anger out on. She seems to be more upset at people who, I'm sorry, the comedy skit was funny. It was hilarious. And sometimes you have to be able to laugh at yourself too. Like, you know, it was kind of funny. It was funny. But Erika apparently did not think so. Did not think so. And I'm sure we're going to see a back and forth between Erika Kirk and Candace Owens because of this statement that Erika just made. That's probably going to go on for quite a bit. That's why I said get ready, get ready to rumble with everything that's happening. But I want to show you this as well. Erika Kirk, CEO of TPUSA, said stop indoctrinating our citizens. TPUSA, to be a good American, you must love Israel. So this is what's happening with TPUSA. Want more information? Go to tpusa.com. Israel, apply now. So Erika's whole organization is indoctrinating children. Yep. So this is important. That's important for people to see, because I'm going to say this division that Erika speaks of, that's happening on, the MAGA like community, those that do not want to support Israel and want money going to Israel, and the old version, which Erika is still a part of, that still wholeheartedly wants to support and fund Israel. That's where a big part of the split lies. And Erika sees that side as a threat for Turning Point USA, herself, the donors to Turning Point USA. At the end of the day, a lot of this comes back to money. You know why? Because they're not selling as many tickets as they used to. Big part of that because of this Israel issue and the Epstein issue. Turning Point USA is not selling as many tickets as they used to. So there's that. So when people donate millions of dollars to your organization and you're not selling like you used to, then the donors get mad. The donors start to wonder, why am I investing in this? You got JD Vance pulling out of the event where he was supposed to co-host with her. That's not a good look either. Not a good look. So a lot of times at the end of the day, a lot of this comes back to money. Let's go to some of the comments here, ladies and gents. Hey. Thank you for the super chat, Ray. I'm sure most people know that religion is used as a control device. Thank you, Iron Will. Rhythmless nation looking ass. Dwight, people have to find your own struggle. LOL. Thank you for this one, Iron. And she was mad at Drewski for what now? Thank you, Shockwave. Sabby, she is signaling to her base it's time for war. That's the militant look. Stay woke. Thank you, Adele. Hi, Sabby, my love. Hello, Adele. What's going on, lady? Erika looking like she was about to commit an art heist. Sonya Blade looking ass. Oh, she does kind of look like Sonya Blade. Thank you, Shockwave. Most loyal Yukon. Military members have been deployed. MAGA soldiers are left here for the purge. This is a signal. Dress and body language from her outfit. Thank you, Kevin. Candace Vid 8/29/2024 unpacks defense of MJ. Thank you, OMG. When Sky Daddy isn't enough, go dark MAGA. Thank you, Meespin says, speaking of kids, how are the Romanian girls, Erika? She won't talk about that. Thank you, Matthew. Buy me a coffee, sap. You get a bigger cut of what's your opinion, and that's the reason I'm here, for your point of view. Buy me a coffee. Thank you, Shockwave. She's a handler for Izzy Sabby, so is the First Lady. Thank you, Michael. Erika signing up as the new member of NWA. Straight out of Compton. Thank you, Marvin. Sabby, Erika touches my soul. LOL, tissues, please. Thanks, Measured Man. Candace never said that. Not to be morbid, her husband dead. People grieve differently. Don't look too far into it. She's dropping Bible verses. Bye. Where are them kids? Thank you, Kai, for the super sticker. Thank you very much there. Thank you, Marlon. Her whole marriage appears to be a role. Just saying. Thank you, Michael. She mad at Drewski but forgave her husband's killer. Thank you, Shockwave. Turning Point is the location they turn you to their will. They telling you we must overstand, turn you against America. And thank you, Matthew. Sabby and the coach, Hip Hop House Day, sang with Coach Colin, please, Sab. I actually heard from him today. So I'm going to try to set something up with him when I get back from the break. Okie dokie. All right, ladies and gents, do me a solid and smash that like button. And we're going to keep it moving to the next story here. This is another doozy. We got to get to Obama. People have not stopped standing up for Gaza, regardless of who the guest speaker appears to be. And Barack Obama was just confronted at a recent event. And this is the first time I actually saw Barack Obama stutter when responding. I don't think he was prepared for this to happen this time around. So let me show you that clip here. It's gone pretty viral. Obama is confronted by a pro-Palestine supporter over his silence during the genocide. So let's see him here. Here we go.
They do. But quiet. Well, now here's the thing we have.
So the person in the audience is asking, will you call it a genocide? So watch Obama's body language.
They do. But
Quiet.
well, now here's the thing we have to do. Would you like to come up and take the mic? I'm not making light of this, right? But here's the I'm happy to talk about this if it's a part of the question.
Notice how he's stuttering?
But again, some rules around how we talk. Well, yes, there are disasters and catastrophes everywhere, sir.
Let me just say something here. I thought I could get through the whole thing without interrupting, but I can't. I have to stop right here and add something. This whole idea of having rules about how we talk, that went away after a genocide. These politicians and former politicians, they want you to have civility politics. Those days are gone. There is no let's speak calmly about something that you already knew about. And when I get into Obama's past, when it comes to Palestine in particular, Obama is just another puppet who played along with the game. He knows exactly what the Palestinian people are going through. He's known back since long ago, back when he was in college. We're going to reveal it all tonight. He knew. He knew about the occupation. He knew about the settler violence. He knew about the oppression. He knew what the Zionists wanted for the Palestinian people and the greater Israel project. He's known. The question was why he won't call it a genocide. The other thing, this little thing that he adds in where he says, well, there's things happening, tragedies happening all over the world. You see, that's another trick that a lot of the pro-Israel people, they do that. What about Sudan? What about Congo? What about Compton? What about Baltimore? What about da-da-da? And that's a trick because you can talk about all of those things, but they can't answer the question about genocide in Gaza or in the West Bank. So I've tried to explain this for the longest time. And I think more people are starting to come around over the years. Obama is not our friend. You hear me? If you are anti-war, if you are against oppression, Obama is not our friend. He is a part of the same establishment, corrupt people, organization. He's a part of all of that. He is not one of us. Even if you look at the class perspective, I don't have a mansion on Martha's Vineyard. Do you? He's not one of us. He's just another one, another politician that they said, hey, he's black. Support him. Hey, Obama, he was raised by his mom. He grew up in a single parent household. Yeah, but they had money though. It's like they try to make it seem as though he's one of us, but he's not. So let's continue here.
Please.
Sir, I'm not the president of the United States currently. So there's no point in shouting at me.
No, he's not, but he was. And when he was president 2 terms in a row, the occupation was still an issue. The oppression was still an issue. The settler violence was still an issue. No, Barack Obama, you're not president right now, but you were president 2 terms in a row, and you knew these things were happening, and you still took Israel's side. You went over there, you put your hand up on the damn wall, you bent the knee, you bent over backwards to do everything for Benjamin Netanyahu and his extreme regime. And when Benjamin Netanyahu came to the United States, he didn't even respect you enough to talk to you first. Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to other people in your administration before he even acknowledged you existed to shake your hand. That's the reality, folks.
There's no point in shouting at me about it. I'm not in charge of foreign policy currently. Well, there you go.
Now, let me show you the close-up. This one here, it's short, but you can see his face a little bit closer here.
But here's the, I'm happy to talk about this if it's a part of the question. But again, some rules around how we talk. Well, yes, there are disasters and catastrophes everywhere, sir.
So this is the first time when Obama has been confronted where I actually seen him frustrated. You can see the frustration on his face. But this is like, look, the Obama stuff, we done with you. I've been done with Obama, but we done with you. Okay? And I know Obama is a little, discombobulated because he showed up, his pants a little too short. You can see like his leg before a sock. I don't know what's going on, but he was little, all over the place. But let me show you the past. Because see, Obama says he's not president, but he was. Let me show you what he said when he was president about this issue.
Every word of President Barack Obama's Jerusalem speech was meant to send a message of support to Israel, from Syria to Iran, promises of partnership.
Israel has the unshakable support of the most powerful country in the world.
For 2 days, that has been his consistent message, with symbolic visits and more than a few lighthearted moments.
Can I ask the robot for some salt?
The peace process had not been his main focus until he got in front of students. Here, he called on the Israeli people to demand their government make peace, saying it is the only way Israel can remain a democratic and a Jewish state.
He demanded the Israeli students to demand their government to make peace. Now, if Israel was not at fault and Israel wasn't doing anything wrong, why would they be the ones that need to make peace? Listen to what he says here.
For the first time, describing in detail life for the Palestinians living under an illegal occupation.
It's not just when settler violence against Palestinians goes unpunished. It's not right to prevent Palestinians from farming their lands or restricting a student's ability to move around the West Bank or displace Palestinian families from their homes. Neither occupation nor expulsion is the answer.
Sounds like someone who knew what was going on, right? So if you tell people that, hey, Israel is removing people from their homes, there's settler violence, hey, this isn't right, this is wrong. Sounds like he knew what was going on, right? And then you see all the people that Israel has killed, not just since October 7th, but before October 7th, which Obama also knows about. You can't sit here and tell me that Barack Obama doesn't realize that Israel is committing genocide. They do. So why won't he say the word? Because Obama, like many of the rest of them, he already decided to drink the water. He bent the knee. He sold his soul to this Zionist genocidal state. Remember what Marjorie Taylor Greene just said? Seems like the president has to make a deal with Israel to be president. Now I want to show you something else. This is important. There was a guy, he passed away. His name was Edward Said. This guy was actually a big deal. Prem Thakur says Obama took a class with Palestinian scholar Edward Said as an undergrad at Columbia, which just suspended Jewish Voices for Peace and Students for Justice in Palestine. Obama became friends with Palestinian scholar Rashid Khalidi. Here's the trio sharing a meal at the event. So this is an important picture that everybody needs to look at, okay? You see, here's Obama right here. I think that's Edward Said right there. I think you see part of his head, not the whole head. There's Michelle Obama right next to him. Okay? This is young Obama. Obama knew. Thank you, Robin. Saeed. Sorry, thank you. Obama knew. And when you go back through Obama's college years, he definitely knew about the fight for the Palestinian people and what they were going through. Obama knows that Columbia banned those groups now, Jewish Voices for Peace, which is an anti-Zionist group. He knows that they're gone. Why doesn't Barack Obama use his network and all his power and raise hell at Columbia University for doing that? That's his alma mater. Why doesn't he do anything about that? Why didn't he say anything? Why is he so quiet? He's not president anymore. Makes you wonder if they have something on him. This guy, Edward Said, when I say he's not just a regular dude, Edward Said was a big deal. This is a look back. This is when he was on Middle East Eye. They covered this. Edward Said, you know, he goes back to Jerusalem where his family was from and even showed like where, look, all of this was like torn down. This guy was a big deal. Listen to this.
The world-renowned Palestinian-American academic Edward Said stands outside the house where he once lived in Dalabiyah, Jerusalem, 45 years after the 1948 Nakba violently displaced 750,000 Palestinians.
Pause. So his family was from Jerusalem. The Nakba displaced almost 750,000 Palestinian people. You guys hear this? You don't think Barack Obama knew this? He's sitting right there at the table. He went to class with Edward Said. He went to class with him. He was sitting there later at the table with them. You don't think he don't know about this?
Including his own family.
I mean, I want the Israelis to understand that all of us were driven out from places like this. This is our history, and it remains, whether they like it or have tried to forget it or not.
By this time, Said was already a prominent academic, best known for his groundbreaking work, Orientalism, which challenged Western perceptions of the East and laid the foundations for post-colonial studies. His childhood home in Jerusalem stood the same, but it was now occupied by a right-wing Christian fundamentalist and militantly pro-Zionist group. For the Palestinian advocate, the experience of returning home only to find it inaccessible brought into focus the pain of dispossession and exile that defined the lives of Palestinians. A year after Said's visit, the Oslo Accords were signed between Israel and the Palestinian Liberation Organization, a move the cultural critic labeled a betrayal of the Palestinian people. He was criticized and vilified throughout his life, including by Palestinian leaders.
Throughout his whole life.
Who briefly censored his writings due to his outspoken criticism of their failings. In 2003, Said died of leukemia, aged 67. But 20 years after his death, as Israel's settlement expansion has rapidly accelerated to now house 700,000 settlers, compared to 250,000 in 1993, and as Israel's war rages on in Gaza, his ideas, critiques on Palestine, Israel, and Zionism are proving to be more and more precise.
So this guy was basically blacklisted his entire career. And I've told you guys, pay attention to the people that get into these elite spaces. They're usually people that toe the line. Barack Obama told the line. He's a very smart guy. He knew about the Middle East. He knew what happened to the Palestinian people. He knows that Israel's committing genocide, but he won't say the words. You have Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that Israel is committing genocide. And here's my prediction. And, you know, some people may not agree with this, but this is my prediction. If the Democratic Party doesn't get on board and do what they're supposed to do and be the party of the working class as they once were before, if they don't get on board with this right, obviously, message, you know what's going to end up happening? The right-wing politicians who channel a Marjorie Taylor Greene and a Thomas Massie, this is why I say, and I've been thinking about this for quite some time, I actually think we might actually get some of these populist ideas passed on the right before it happens on the left. Because Barack Obama, who is not even in office anymore, can't even say Israel's committing genocide. Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying that. You can't even get, like, this is wild. The majority of Democrats in Congress won't say Israel is committing a genocide. And there's a lot to be said there. That's why when people say there seems to be this push to have like a female president or whatever, you know, that'll probably happen in the Republican Party before it happens in the Democratic Party. Not because they want that to happen, but just because all it really takes is someone running on the right message. And if someone runs on that message, that is a populist message that really does, you know, appeal to the people, the working class people, and obviously it wouldn't be Donald Trump, but they run on that right message. If they got up there and they said Israel's committing a genocide and stuff like that, this is why I said the Democratic Party, if they don't get on the right beat, which it seems like they're not, if they don't get on the right beat, people are going to end up going towards that type of populism that Marjorie Taylor Greene or Thomas Massie may support. Because people just want the policies. At the end of the day, people just want to be able to have health care. They want to be able to make a living and not live paycheck to paycheck. And if the Democratic Party does not deliver on those things, people will look elsewhere. If we even go back, they were calling for Obama. Obama alumni called on former president to leverage influence for Gaza ceasefire. People were begging him, step up, take a stand, say something. Wouldn't do it. Wouldn't do it. This is why I don't give him any slack. When people say, oh, give him a chance. No, there is no give Obama a chance. He had multiple chances. People were begging him. Begging. We see here, you have this issue with the DNC chair, right? He don't want to reveal the autopsy of the DNC election, and I think we all know why. The Obamas and the Ken Martins, he's now the DNC chair, they are going to lead this country down a path that puts a lot of people out of their homes and only caters to the rich. And at that point, we haven't hit rock bottom yet. You'll know when we get there. At that point, all hell breaks loose. There's nothing else left but a revolution at that point in time. And it's because of things like this. Listen to this.
I want to start with the 2024 autopsy, which you call an after-action review. When you won the chairmanship in February of 25, you criticized the DNC's refusal to release their 2016 autopsy as exactly what not to do. You said, quote, "Was there any utility in doing that?" And then promised your 2024 autopsy would be different. Your exact quote was, "Of course it will be released." Why did you change your mind on that?
Well, look, I mean, what I said all along, even when I ran for this position, is that we were going to focus on the things that will help us win the upcoming election, right? Making sure that we learn the right lessons that could help inform our victories. And that's what we've done. We said this when we sent out the press release back in November saying we weren't going to release the report. We were going to actually keep our focus on those lessons, and we released those lessons. We continue to do that. So it's not completely accurate to say that we didn't release that. Where we're keeping our focus is on the lessons that can actually help us win.
On this show in August, you told me this about releasing the review, quote, "We have to do it to give people who invested so much time, energy, and money a sense of what happened and why we lost." Especially why we lost. So what changed between August and December? I understand there are lessons, but those are not the full report. Why not release the full report? What's in the report that you wouldn't want to publicize?
Yeah, there's no smoking gun in the report. And I know that's what everyone's so eager to learn. The smoking gun. Guess what, John?
But if there's no smoking gun, why wouldn't you just release it then?
Because we want to keep the focus on the lessons. Because what ends up happening here is that people, of course, want to weaponize the report in a way to look backwards, to point fingers, place blame in a way that actually doesn't keep us focused on the upcoming election. But instead, the navel gazing of focusing backwards actually takes us backwards. We're 189 days from this election, John. What we don't need to be focused on is actually relitigating 2024. What we need to do is learn the lessons of 24 and the years preceding that can help us win this upcoming election.
Why isn't Barack Obama using his platform and his voice to pressure the DNC to release that autopsy report? Let me tell you why they're not going to release the report. You know why? Because it criticizes Israel. The reason why they're not releasing that report is because it shows that that was the reason why Kamala Harris lost the election. And because it shows negativity towards Israel, that's why they're not releasing the report. So Ken can kiss my smoking gun ass, Ken. Because if there was no smoking gun, you would have no problem releasing that report. The numbers show in all the states, the swing states, that the uncommitted votes actually did make a difference. When you look at the numbers as to why Kamala lost Michigan, we went over those numbers before. Why isn't Barack Obama using his platform and the power that he has to pressure Ken Martin to release that report? Why? Better yet, with what just happened the other night, why isn't Barack Obama saying anything about the people who have been captured, kidnapped by Israel on the Freedom Flotilla? There was just another one the other night. Another interception right here. I'll speed it up here so you can see. See how they're yelling at him? Hands, hands. These are international waters. Why hasn't Barack Obama said anything about the Americans who have been kidnapped by Israel on international waters that were a part of the Freedom Flotilla? Why didn't he say anything about the woman who was sexually abused by Israel that was a part of this flotilla? Why didn't he say anything about Chris Smalls being beaten when nobody else in his group was? Why didn't he say anything about that? And so for people who think that Barack Obama cares so much about black people, which he don't, why didn't he say anything about Chris Smalls, who is black, who was beaten, detained, choked by Israeli soldiers couple months ago. Why doesn't he say anything? Zora Mondami issued a statement today. There are Americans on those boats. We have the right to use international waters. Why doesn't he say anything? So no, Barack Obama, you may not be the current president right now. But when you were, you knew this was going on back then. You knew before you were president. You knew when you were in college. And then when you were president, you chose to participate in the wars as well. You killed Gaddafi, who just only wanted to help his own people. Wasn't a threat to the United States, wasn't killing his own people. The lies that Obama told you. You killed those black and brown kids abroad. You did that. So you may not be president now, but you were before. So they all bought in. They all bought in. So don't fall for that line. Well, I'm not the current president, because he was. Let's go to the next part here, Eric. We're going to go to the RFK story because this is a doozy. All right. Hope I'm doing okay on time. All right, ladies and gents, let's get to the RFK story. This is one that kind of surprised me, but Whitney Webb has been on it. RFK Jr. and his son, you know, they are also enriching themselves from Donald Trump's administration. Let's go ahead and put it up here on the screen. Whitney Webb, shout out to her because I saw her post first. I recently learned that one of RFK Jr.'s sons had been working for Palantir co-founder Joe Lonsdale, 8VC, and is now working on a new VC firm aimed at emerging technologies in healthcare. I kid you not. I kid you not. Here it is. U.S. Health Secretary's son launches investment fund tied to health movement. So that's RFK Jr.'s son. Remember I told you how all these people are enriching themselves? RFK Jr.'s biggest expose, I think, was when he, for years, said that glyphosate, you know, causes like cancer. And then he approved for these companies to still use it. That's in Roundup, by the way, the chemical Roundup. That's in Roundup, the weed killer, and other things. But that was a big mask off, right? So then people felt like they were abandoned by the MAHA movement. This was never really about you. It was never really about any of us. This was about RFK Jr. and his son for them to enrich themselves. And we'll pull it up here. U.S. Health Secretary's son launches investment fund tied to health movement. So let's get into a little bit of this here. A son of U.S. Health Secretary RFK Jr. is launching a fund to invest in healthcare companies, touting his ties to his father's Make America Healthy Again movement and backing groups that could benefit from it. It goes on to say here that William Finbar, known as Finn Kennedy, is seeking to raise $100 million for the fund Victoria Ventures, targeting early stage growth companies involved in healthcare AI, consumer health, and other health technologies, the document said, highlighting healthcare AI. So MAHA was more about make America healthy again, but put money in their pockets. Put money in RFK Jr.'s pocket, his son's pockets. Healthcare AI, that puts people out of jobs. They're all in on it. We'll get to the Palantir part in just a second. The fund already has raised about $70 million in commitments. Healthcare is entering a rare convergence it said. Victoria is built to capture this moment. Kennedy's forays into healthcare investing marks the latest example of the cozy relationship between the Trump administration and close associates who have sought to capitalize on it. So listen to this. Sons of President Donald Trump and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick have promoted alternative currencies. Donald Trump Jr. has joined the board of 1789 Capital, a fund founded by pro-Trump donors in 2023. At least 4 of 1789's portfolio companies have won contracts from the Trump administration. 1789 has also invested in big government contractors such as Anduril and Elon Musk SpaceX. And long story short here, guys, all of these people are profiting from their connections in the Trump administration. They are making themselves richer. That's why you don't see any improvement for you. That's why you don't see any Doge checks. That's why you don't see any lower gas prices. They're making money for themselves. That's really what it's all about. So 70%, they said, 70% of Americans are struggling paycheck to paycheck right now for groceries. Yeah, but they're not. We go on to this part here. These people are shameless. RFK Jr.'s son launches healthcare investment fund. The festering swamp of corruption and self-dealing surrounding the Trump White House just got even deeper. And so again, you just got to see where all this money is going. This is helping them. This is helping them. Additionally, Common Dreams reported on Thursday, Eric Trump appeared on Fox Business to brag about a $24 million Pentagon contract secured by Foundation Future Industries, where the president's son serves as chief strategy advisor. See how they all connected? These people are shameless. This is coming from journalist Doug Henwood. He's responding to this fund. The advocacy group Protect Our Care said the Financial Times reporting and a Friday story in New York Times, which detailed how a top Kennedy aide was advising on changes to the American health system while running a rapidly growing wellness company poised to benefit from Trump administration health policies. And this shows that the festering swamp of corruption and self-dealing surrounding the Trump White House just got even deeper. Let me bring up this part right here. You know, it's not even just that they are enriching themselves. You got to remember when RFK Jr. was saying, okay, I'm not going to be on the ballot in most of these states, yada. I remember all that whole thing, right? He approached both parties. He approached Kamala Harris' team and he approached Donald Trump's team. What it goes to show you is that he's not principled. He was willing to go one way or the other. At that point, he was just looking for a damn job in a presidential administration that was going to help benefit himself financially and also his family, like his son. He was willing to go with either team. People forget this sometimes. He contacted both of them. Kamala's team did not want to meet. Trump's team did. And that's how he ended up joining along with the Trump administration. He's not principled. He's just looking as though, okay, I've been pretty popular as an independent candidate. They kicked me off the ballot in some of these states. And so how can I make the most of this campaign? And this is another thing I got to say going into 2028. Some of these people, they run for president for other opportunities, other business opportunities. RFK Jr. had a pretty good following and early on had a pretty good following. But these people are not serious, man. The next person who run as an independent or third party, they have to be really serious about trying to win. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is the momentum that RFK Jr. had at that point in time as an independent, the momentum that he had, he was willing to toss that aside after he told his supporters he wouldn't do that. He was willing to toss it aside to join one of the teams. He didn't really care which one, to look out for himself and his family. So sometimes when people run for president, it's basically a startup gig to something else. Oh, I'll get to write a book. Oh, I can write a book about this. Oh, maybe I can, be in a documentary about this, or maybe I can get a position in one of these administrations, whoever wins. So a lot of the people who were supporting him, and I wasn't, but a lot of the people who were supporting him, they were disappointed and they were let down. But this is corruption at its finest. Again, why aren't people calling this out? Why aren't they calling out all this corruption that's happening? Erika Kirk was just talking about things are so evil and bad in this country. Why isn't she calling this out though? Because see, she don't call out corruption. That's what I was talking about. According to the Times, Kennedy aide Callie Means held between 25 million and 50 million in stock in the company. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you guys. For months, Mr. Means has ignored questions from Democrats in Congress about his finances, including the extent of his stake in TrueMed and how they related to federal policy. So Maha was just more money for RFK and his son. And this guy that his son worked with, this is the company 8VC. This is Joe Lonsdale. This guy, let's see if I can make this bigger for you guys so you can. Okay, here we go. Is the founder and managing partner at 8VC, an early stage venture capital firm managing over $6 billion in capital. In 2003, he founded Palantir Technologies. What I tell you, a global software company known for its work supporting U.S. and its allies' defense and intelligence. And these are the people, so him, Joe Lonsdale, along with Alex Karp, these are the people that RFK Jr. and those alike are in bed with. So Maha was not about making things great and healthy for Americans. This was a way for RFK Jr. to, of course, expand his wealth and enrich himself. And the son was working with the Palantir guy. Palantir wasn't just Alex Karp. So tie it all together. They're talking about healthcare AI, Palantir to the T, defense, intelligence, all these things wrapped up into one. These people don't care about you. These people care about their pockets. That should be everywhere. That information about this healthcare investment fund of RFK Jr.'s son, it should be everywhere. Everywhere. People should be talking about it. And it all leads back to Zionism. All of them. Palantir, this healthcare fund, the AI, big tech, all of it leads back to that. In fact, shout out to Artist Brutal. William Finn Kennedy, son of U.S. Health and Human Service Secretary RFK, is launching a new venture capital firm named Victura Ventures. His work at 8VC involved close collaboration with partners like Sebastian Kalari. Who's Sebastian Kalari? Look at this. Sebastian Kalari was a venture capitalist. He was also a part of 8VC, and he's former Palantir. He also came from Palantir. Well. Everybody see it now? These are the things that we got to pay attention to. We got to pay attention to it. Sebastian Kalari was recently selected as a member of the newly created Federal Healthcare Advisory Committee by HHS and CMS as of March 26, along with Tony Robbins, who was a motivational speaker. So there you go, folks. There you go. They're all in on it. So I would say this, those of you who did support RFK and did vote for him, I would say this, you need to reach out to RFK because you don't really see him have that many conversations. He was all over the country when he was running for president. People need to contact RFK and ask him about this and ask him why he lied to you. Ask him. Because when I saw this, I was like, oh, let's get ready to rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. Because that is really not good. What they all have in common, all these people are rich. All right. We got one more story for you folks. I promise I won't keep you too long. I know it's getting kind of late and I got to get out of here too. So I hope to keep this one rather short. If you haven't had a chance to do so, smash the like, ladies and gents. Thank you very much. And let's get to the final story tonight. Look, there have been a lot of people that have been attacking Hasan Piker at this point in time, corporate media people. But this one from Van Jones, I think, is the lowest of the low. Now, I don't agree with Hasan Piker on some of these strategies. I don't agree with him on everything. I support, his fight for Gaza, the Palestinian people. I support him, providing mutual aid to people in Cuba, etc. I support that type of stuff. Of course, you guys know I do mutual aid. Of course, I support that. My disagreement with him is that I just don't think these things are going to change within the Democratic Party. And he seems to be solely focused on that it can only be done that way. And I don't agree I think we need to do other things, right? But now it's gotten to the point where Van Jones went out of his way to make this video. A video. He said Hasan Piker says the designated terrorist organization Hamas is 1,000 times better than Israel. So let's get into this video here. Because I told you guys, Van Jones, ever since he took that money from Jeff Bezos, this guy has just been a paid pro-Israel shill. And he had the audacity to make this whack-ass video.
A lot of people are making the mistake of just writing Hasan Piker off because some of the things he says are so surprising, so shocking, so outrageous. A lot of people think it's good enough to just call him names and hope he goes away. I think that's a big mistake. Hasan Piker has a massive audience. He's emerging as one of the major voices of his generation. And I think it's important that those of us who disagree with him take the time to address his claim. And his claim is pretty simple. It's that the Israelis have been so brutal to the Palestinians, has treated them so badly, has prosecuted the war in Gaza with such violence that pretty much anything Hamas does pales in comparison. Anything that Hamas does is essentially justified. That's the basic claim. And I think that claim has a lot of appeal for people. It is true that the Palestinians have suffered grievously over these many decades. I've been to the West Bank. I've seen it myself. I was in Gaza before Hamas took over. I have seen the conditions of the Palestinian people.
Pause. Now, all of a sudden, he seems to remember that he went to the West Bank and that he went to Gaza. But Van Jones, all this time, pretended as though, it's all about protect Israel, protect Israel. If you look at the organizations that Van Jones is a part of, it's very obvious what his mission is. He's adding this in here now, right? He said he went to Gaza before Hamas took over. So you went into an occupied space but you're pro-Israel, and Israel is occupying the space. It's unbelievable.
They have been treated badly. Many people felt that the Gaza war was prosecuted too aggressively. And that's why I think his critique, why his comments resonate with a lot of people. But I do see it very differently than Hasan Piker. And my position doesn't come out of a position of not knowing anything about oppression or not knowing anything about liberation struggles. In fact, the opposite. For a big chunk of my life, I was on the left side of Pluto. Why?
This is the video, guys. You know, we've made fun of this so many times of him in his activist days. So he finally admits it and puts it in his video to show you guys that, yes, that was him. He was out there being an activist, calling out all these things. So there you go. He finally is admitting it now. Let's not forget Van Jones was laughing about dead babies, okay? He was laughing about dead babies in Gaza. And I think he's doing this as like some type of own, but the reality is it makes him look weak and pathetic. Yes, that's how you used to be. You got paid and you sold out. The reason why he's coming after Hasan Piker is because of Hasan. He said it because he has a large platform. That's why he's coming after him. But what corporate media is doing is they're making it seem as though Hasan Piker is the only one who has this position that he has against Israel, and he's not. I would say, especially on the left, the majority of us in YouTube political media do not support Israel and are not happy with Israel at all and believe that Israel is committing a genocide. The majority of us have been very vocal and critical about that. They don't like some of the things that Hasan has said. I have seen political commentators that have a smaller following than Hasan Piker make further claims than what Hasan has made, but they're not going after them because they don't have a large platform. So their goal is to try to take Hasan Piker down. There is a legislation right now being brought forward in Congress by two Zionist politicians to condemn Hasan Piker. I kid you not. They want you to believe that it's just a one-person kind of thing. It's not. It's not. So here's Van Jones doing what he was paid to do.
Because of the pain of my people, because of understanding the brutality we suffered during our enslavement and during the vicious, violent colonial conquest of Africa. And frankly, the pain we still suffer in prisons, in jails, in housing projects. And that indignation at the mistreatment of my people, I understand why some people say anything you do to defend your people is completely justified when they have been mistreated. But I was lucky enough to meet people who were older than me in the struggle and who had been in the Black Panther Party, people who had been in the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, people who had been in the African National Congress in South Africa, who had to make the actual choice of whether to pick up the gun, and if they picked up the gun, how to use it. And
Pause. That was a horrible example that he gave. Huey P. Newton supported the Palestinian people. There's pictures of Huey P. Newton over there supporting the Palestinian people. South Africa supported the Palestinian people. What poor examples that Van Jones chose there to say, well, they decided not to pick up a gun, It's not about what people feel is right. It's about what international law says. Under international law, if you are occupied, you have the right to resist by force. That's the law. Van Jones doesn't want to tell you that. I really do think when he made this video, this was his way of trying to, let me try to be fair to both sides in a way and But don't get it twisted. Now he is misleading people into thinking that the Black Panther Party and those that were fighting against apartheid in South Africa, as if those two movements did not have solidarity with the Palestinians. They did. terrible. He's ratioed by the way. If you look at this tweet, he was ratioed big time.
Those people humbled me, and they taught me things that I think are not being shared anymore with the next generation. One thing they taught me was that the choice between nonviolence and violence, there are legitimate times to be nonviolent, but also to pick up arms. Yes, we have a beautiful nonviolent tradition in the Black community, led by people like Dr. King and Ella Jo Baker and Fannie Lou Hamer and Bayard Rustin. These are people who, when they got to heaven, Gandhi himself probably bowed. These are giants of nonviolence.
Why did he even use, what is that? Let's go back to that one, see if we can find it. A lot of people were mocking this picture online, right? This is crazy. This is crazy.
Of nonviolence, and that is an honorable tradition in my community. But there are people in my community who picked up the gun. The Black Panther Party did, Malcolm X said we have the right to do it, and many of our leaders in Africa engaged in armed struggle. But they had moral principles they refused to walk away from when they did it. The choice wasn't just between violence or nonviolence. It was between principled armed struggle and terrorism.
So this is where he loses a lot of people, right? Principled armed struggle and terrorism. When you are occupied, you're fenced in. When you have Israeli settlers coming to the neighborhood, stealing your home, beating your people, stealing your goats, burning your crops. Oh, and don't forget about the Palestinians that are sexually assaulted in the Israeli prisons. Don't forget about that too, which Van Jones never talks about. Never. Till this day. It's not principled to fight back against that. It's not principled. So here comes Nelson Mandela. This part is really interesting.
If you look at Nelson Mandela with the ANC in South Africa, Amilcar Cabral in Guinea-Bissau, Samora Machel in Mozambique, Agostinho Neto in Angola, they faced the opportunity to kill a lot of white colonial family members, children, babies. There were a lot of white people who were in their countries who were easy targets. They chose not to kill those people.
Nelson Mandela went to jail for what? Was it over 27 years? There was a statue of Nelson Mandela in Ramallah. That's how much the Palestinian people admired Nelson Mandela. Does Van Jones know that? And it's just wild.
They chose instead to focus their guns only on soldiers, only on infrastructure. Why? They did not want to become what they were fighting.
And yet Israel, who Van Jones supports, was killing civilians and is still killing civilians. These are horrible examples.
And so even in armed struggle, there are rules. Even in armed struggle, there are principles.
No, there aren't. There aren't rules and principles. Israel's made that very clear. There are no rules. There are no rules when you're killing children. There are no rules when I watch IDF soldiers shoot a dog. There are no rules when you're killing pets. There are no rules when you're killing journalists. There are no rules, Van. And you sat back all this time and advocated for Israel. All this time when they have not been following your rules.
And the principles of no women, no children, no rapes, no kidnapping. These are moral principles that any liberation struggle has to uphold.
Israel has broken all of those rules. All of them. Women, children, sexual assault, all of them. All of them.
There is a way to judge an organization and decide, is it worthy of my support?
Says who? Van Jones is a part of the Black Boule. Van Jones steps in to basically tell you, this is how you talk about these issues. This is how you fight back. This is how you handle it. And everything's got to be a part of this civil discourse. That's how you get hundreds of thousands. I think, what, 5 million? How much did Jeff Bezos get to him? That's how you get that kind of money from Jeff Bezos. Nobody just shows up and throws that kind of money at you for nothing. Nobody. You're going to do something in return. That's how he gets here. So Van Jones, and I got my problems with people like him. Van Jones is a part of the Black Boule. Let me tell you how to do it and to do it the right way. Let me tell you how it should be done. When these people are suffering every day, Israel's still killing people in Gaza. Still. This is a problem. The Van Jones, the Stephen A. Smith, the Van Jones, this is a problem. They're going to hold a lot of people back.
You ask the question, what are the ends of the organization? What are their goals? And what are their means? How are they getting there?
Says who? Who says this? According to Van. Who says this is what you're supposed to do? So since this is what he's saying, what are the ends and what are the means? Why is Van Jones a part of pro-Israel organizations? Hello? Why is Van Jones a part of pro-Israel organizations? Because their goal is to take over all of the Middle East, to displace all the other Arab people. That's their goal. So why is he a part of pro-Israel organizations?
In my tradition, the ends have to be more freedom, more dignity, more democracy for more people. Those are the freedom-fighting organizations in our community that we stand with and we uphold. Hamas is not that.
Who's we? Now Van Jones is speaking for the entire Black community. Does everybody hear this? Hold up. Van Jones is speaking for the entire Black community, and he's saying this is what we uphold. Here comes the gatekeeping.
Those are the freedom-fighting organizations in our community that we stand with and we uphold. Hamas is not that kind of organization. Hamas is not fighting for more freedom for Palestinians. It's actually fighting for less. They are an organization that wants a theocracy, not a democracy.
Why do they have to fight for freedom? Why do they even have to fight for freedom? Because the people aren't free. When people aren't free, you don't get to tell them how to fight for freedom. You know, I look back on this, and how would Van Jones feel about the Haitian slave rebellion? How would he feel about that? What would Van Jones say? Well, let's look at the ends and let's look at the means. Let's look at how this should all play out, and let's make sure we're following certain principles.
They want Islamic fundamentalism, Islamo-fascist principles to govern their people.
How do you even know that? He said he was in Gaza before Hamas was there. How does he know what they want? He never talked to them.
Being Muslim, that's not a problem. They've gone way beyond that. They want Islamic fundamentalism, theocracy, domination, no rights for people. So they're not actually.
top. I've never heard them say that. Two, we've heard Israel say that about their side. That's what Israel wants. Israel doesn't want people to have those kind of freedom. They're the ones that want those things. They're the ones that say we want a state only for us. He got the nerve to put Nelson Mandela back up here.
A freedom fighting organization, they're actually a freedom taking organization. I don't support that. Number two, they're means. It's not that they're not nonviolent, it's that they're terrorists. Hasan.
How are they terrorists? How? What defines that?
Piker says that Hamas killed a lot of people on October 7th, but since then, Israel has killed many more Palestinians than Hamas has ever killed. Well, he's right, but not for lack of trying. Hamas has spent the past 10 years firing rockets at innocent Israeli men, women, children, babies, hospitals, schools, and nurseries.
Wrong. This is horrible. With all the intelligence and the weapons that Israel has, you really expect people to believe that Hamas had that type of weapon capability on their side? They never did. They never had what Israel had. Doesn't get into international law, which says that people have a right to resist by force. This is wild. But I told you he's a paid shill, which you'll never really get into. Let's speed up here, this part. You never let your opponent's morality dictate your own. Boy, I tell you. Let me come out and come back in. Sometimes that happens with the Twitter videos. I can't, this guy, Norm Finkelstein was right about Van Jones. This shit is wild.
Israeli men, women, people have objected to. But in my tradition, you never let your opponent's morality dictate your own. You do not let your opponent's tactics dictate your own, because you don't want to become what you're fighting.
But you support what they're fighting. So he is openly admitting to you that he knows what Israel is doing is wrong, but he supports them. He does not support the Palestinian people. I ain't never see Van Jones come out there and make the case for the Palestinian people. I've never seen Van Jones come out there as he's going Bill Maher's show and all these other fucking shows and tell people what was really happening with the Palestinian people. He just told you in this video that he had been to Gaza before Hamas was there, that he had been to the West Bank. And I'm pretty sure he walked his ass over there in Jerusalem too and kissed that damn wall. And that's how he got that money. When he sat there on Bill Maher's show, he laughed about dead babies. He didn't say anything about the fact that he had been to Gaza, and he didn't say anything about the Palestinian people are treated badly. He did not say it at all. That tells you everything. So this attack that's happening against Hasan Piker, they're coming after him because he has a huge, massive platform. From what I understand, I think he's one of the largest streamers on Twitch. That's why they're trying to take Hasan Piker down. It's not just Van Jones, but all the rest of them. That's why they're trying to do that. But it doesn't matter. Even if they were to take Hasan Piker down, that doesn't change what people already know. That doesn't change people's position about Israel and what they have already seen. That doesn't change people's minds. Actually, it would do the opposite. If they were to deplatform Hasan Piker because of all this, that's actually just going to make people even more upset. It's not going to go in the way that they want it to. Not going to go in that way. But again, that's Van Jones, the shill. Dropside News called him out. Allegations of sexual violence against white women were one of the most commonly cited justifications for lynching black men in America, though the historical record shows these charges were routinely fabricated or grossly distorted. They're talking to Van Jones because Van Jones is still repeating the October 7th sexual assault. He's still repeating it, even though it's been debunked multiple times. No independent international human rights organization has confirmed a single case of sexual assault by Palestinian fighters on October 7th. Not one. And you never see Van Jones go into independent media and have this debate with people about this either. He knows where not to go. This is how crazy this is. Congress is set to introduce a resolution today condemning Hasan Piker for allegedly spreading anti-Semitism. So now it's anti-Semitic now. Here we go. The resolution was brought forward by Representatives, of course, Josh Gottheimer and Mike Lawler. The two received nearly $3 million from AIPAC pro-Israel lobby groups combined. Guys, I'm not even like exaggerating. They are actively presenting legislation to condemn Hasan Piker. They're really trying to silence the people. And like I said, I don't agree with Hasan on every strategy. Like, I think his only just trying to do it in Democrat, I don't think that's the way to go. I've been calling for a general strike for years. And we even had a general strike summit. Right? Like, those of you who are new, Revolutionary Blackout Network had a general strike summit 2021. Hasan Piker attacked us before it even started. I didn't know what that was even about. Now, that was 5 years ago. Maybe he's changed a little bit. I don't know. But the reason why I'm calling this out is because, for one, if they will do this to Hasan Piker, they'll do it to any one of us at some point. I mean, it's so clear who's running things here. Mike Lawler takes over $1 million from AIPAC. Marjorie Taylor Greene was calling him out. Remember, she said in the interview. You literally have Josh Gottheimer here taking over $2 million from AIPAC. That's what this is all about. So they got their marching orders from Benjamin Netanyahu. Take this Hasan Piker guy down. Get him out of there. Deplatform him. And you guys know how I feel about censorship and deplatforming. I'm 100% against it, whether I agree with the person or not. Hasan Piker is able to still get access to many politicians. He can just go. He interviewed Bernie Sanders and AOC in 2024. Like, he's in that web of things. So yeah, he says things that people may have issue with, but he's still able to be in those spaces and interview those politicians, etc. That's why they want him gone. That's why they want him out of there. Because they feel as though he's doing a little too much. They're like, that's not fair. It's not fair because he has access to politicians and he's saying these things about Israel on his platform. Well, I believe in freedom of speech. And I'm against censorship. This is bullshit. If they come after him, someone who has access to all these politicians, they will come after any one of us. Any one of us. So it's not about personality. This is not about whether or not you like Hasan Piker. That is beside the point. The point is, if they do it to him, they can do it to any one of us. People need to pay attention. And Van Jones is a clown. All right. Okay, ladies and gents, that is it for me tonight. Quick reminder again, I am traveling this week. So the next live stream will be Thursday. There will be videos uploaded while I'm gone. We'll have videos, especially if something breaks. But I am traveling. And so I'll be spending some time out of town, Zoe. And hopefully get to have a little bit of fun. A little bit of fun. We'll see how it goes. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. But there will be videos, like I said, for you guys to watch. I'll upload videos, but I won't be able to stream because I'm not sure like how the internet connection is. It's like when you use StreamYard to record, you don't really need a strong internet connection. When you use StreamYard to live stream, you do. So I'm not sure like how it would work like at the hotel either. I'm not sure like if it would work well. Might be something I can talk to someone about one day, like for those who do travel, like how are they doing streams with the internet issues with hotels? You know how it can be. Anywho, I am heading out, ladies and gents. I hope you guys have a great weekend. And Eric's going to come on, close out the show, and do the super chats for you guys.
And sometimes you just got to take a break, right?
Yeah, sometimes. And I haven't had a break in a while because like everything, the news cycle has been crazy.
It's always something, you know, with this whole Van Jones story. I mean, there's this whole concept that you have this person, Bezos, who has billions of dollars, who can just point at Van Jones and say, "Oh, here, you get $100 million." I mean, just that whole, just as a baseline concept, is crazy. And yet that's how our society and our system works. It's just political corruption. It's economic corruption. It's effed. And, you know, I think our demands, our politics, our movement, it just has to get into baseline issues like that, you know, fundamentals. That's what we got to go after.
That's right. All right, guys, that's it for me. I actually have to get up in like a couple of hours, so I'm going to try to get some sleep. Bye. Have a good night. Keep up the fight.
All right. Safe travels to our Sabby. And you can catch Sabby live, like she said, in a week. I think the next live show will be next Thursday, but we'll have clips and things like that. And yeah, in terms of how do we fix this mess, I think is a question we always want to be kind of getting at, right? Imagining that if someone is watching this show and they're asking, like, you know, okay, I'm with you, and that all makes sense. What do we do about it? What we're going to have to do about it is to get something going, getting organized, getting on message. And 11 Demands is at its core about how do we organize that. And the idea is to organize behind a clear set of demands, to always have that focus on that corruption. It's core to how this rotten system operates. It's also a winner of a topic in terms of engaging people. And you know, there is a way to do this. There's the old MCDS, which stands for Money, Corruption, Demand Solutions. It's a framework for how we look at it. At this point, you know, the task is to educate people and to get the word out there and to think about how we can be growing this as a movement. So if you want to see what that looks like, what the demands look like, and what that's all about, go to the old 11demands.org. And there's, you know, the list of demands on there. There's the strategy. Also, a big thing you can do is sign up for the 11 Demands Substack. If you go to that site, there's easy access to that. Would love to see more people signing up to that. You get an occasional email when there's something new from 11 Demands, and you can keep up with what's going on. 11 Demands Substack, so I hope to see you all in there. And let's see, you know, we all have a role to play in this, and let's see what we can do about it. Meanwhile, here we've got super chats built up in the queue, and these go back a couple of stories. So let's see what we got in there. Thanks for this super chat, Mr. Marlon Wells, who says, Obama looked like he'd ready to drop a "I'm speaking." Yeah, I hear you. That yeah, you know, you wonder if Obama's just wondering what to do with himself at this point. They missed the limelight and the spotlight. And thanks for the super chat from America Isa, you can see the rest, who says, I would be more surprised by this protest if they asked Obama if he would support land back for Palestinians or an end to the occupation and the blockade. Or, sorry, he said, I would be more inspired by this protest if they asked Obama if he would support laying back for Palestinians or an end to the occupation and blockade. I hear you. And what you're describing there are clear demands. Demands are powerful, and when you bring that into the conversation, into our rhetoric, into our protests and our actions, it has a big effect. It's a core part of it. It makes it clear what it's about and what needs to happen. Also, when we're talking about a general strike and big actions like that, I'm all for them as long as they have clear demands and good demands. And you can see what a proposed set of what I would call good demands looks like at 11demands.org. Thanks for this one, Kenman, who says, wow, Obama aged badly. Yeah, I mean, I did think he was looking pretty old, and he's not that old, but yeah, you got to wonder. And thanks for this super chat, Marlon Wells. He dropped, I'm stuttering instead. I hear you. And thanks for the super chat from Sean, who says, Ali Abumana, electronic infiltrata on far left in photo. Oh, interesting. In the photo that had Van Jones, I think, or no, that had Obama in a group. Gotcha. And thanks for this one from Mont 3000, who says, thanks for the super chat, who says, bombshell, most citizens don't realize Epstein is the biggest scandal cover in world history. Only reason we have no money for our own free health care in college. We pay for others, but they have us fighting black versus white. Yeah, I mean, it's the real fight is up and down. That's the core thing. It's that top 0.1% versus the rest of us. That's the real fight, and that's where we need to keep our focus. And thanks for the super chat, Libertarian Social Democrat. Dems only care about diversity, but not substance. Yeah, and the whole Democrat-Republican thing is theater to have a fake fight to prevent us from having the real fight. If you look on the 11 Demands Substack, there's one article called "The Fight That They Want Us to Have," that gets into that whole concept of they keep us fighting left, right, against each other, so that we don't come together as a 99% and engage in a movement to get what working people need. And Rish, thanks for the super chat, who says Obama was a disappointment. Sadly, I voted for him. I hear you, but I mean it was a very different time, and most people did vote for Obama. And thanks for the super sticker, Kenman, and thanks for the super chat saying Obama is the ultimate Oreo. And thanks for this one, Marlon Wells. Obama, a Republican Zionist in Democrat blackface. There you go. And Obama himself admitted that he was basically a moderate Republican. And thanks for this one as well from America Is, who says, Palantir was funded 2 months after ICE was founded. I wonder if there's any connection. Yeah, I mean, and there's always these big connections with big money. And thanks for this one, Mont. He need to keep Black Panther Party out of his fork-tongued mouth. I hear you. Talking about Van Jones. And thanks for this one as well. Nothing wild, evil people at work. It's how they roll and pretend if they hand you a flower that God's. All right. And this one as well. He says, Jeff wasted $100 million thinking he got the pulse of the black community. LMAO. Thanks for this super chat. Beta virus. Honestly, living through a government that is backing a genocide and funding it while nothing is being done is super exhausting. Free Palestine. Yeah, and I would say let's work on how we can do some real things against that system. And shout out to Constance for the super chat. This is even worse than his Dead Gaza Baby segment. I hear you, yeah. And shout out to Cheetah for being a member for 17 months and saying Van the Sellout Jones. And I think last here in our queue, we got one from Mont. Thanks for this one. Who says, Van Jones never represented the black community. Get that straight? I think he means get straight. All right. That's going to about do us for tonight. So, yeah, I think in closing for this show, I'll just say, we need to keep our eye on what's really happening in our corrupt, money-driven system. Always connect those dots. There was the recent, on the last show, I think it was Sabrina showed that the pyramid with the billionaires on top. I always have to remember, where the buck really stops, who's really calling the shots. We do have power as a 99%, as the working class. It's up to us to figure out how to organize that, behind those clear demands, call out that corruption, and, put together something that really matters. Whenever there's any politician who's out there saying, that we should vote for them or any other organization, we should say, well, are you calling out this corrupt system? Are you really on our side or on their side? Here's our list of demands, and, tell us about what you're going to do with them. When we have a movement that operates in that fashion, I think we'll really be getting somewhere. So, as always, that's at 11demands.org. You'll be hearing more about this on the show. We'll have the live shows back at you in about a week. We'll have clips in the meantime. We'll see what happens with the news. It seems like anytime a few days go by or a week goes by, it's a whole nother world. So we'll see what the world looks like in a week when we're back at you live. But until then, I will close it out with thanks for everyone for watching. And until next time we see you, have a good night. Keep up that fight. See you all next time. Thanks, everyone. And peace.